Hey Lexi, WrestleMania season is in full swing as when people are hearing this, the WWE just wrapped up the Royal Rumble 2024. But we want to look back just a little bit further than a day. In fact, we want to look back at a pair of Rumbles, one celebrating its 10th anniversary and one celebrating its 30th anniversary. So what do you say we get the conversation started?
Yeah!
Then let's do it. Hello and welcome to the 2024 LexiCon Royal Rumble Watch Along! Introducing now your hosts. First, they've been working on their editing, but they're still struggling with transitions. Here is Dylan! Next up, she's the namesake for the podcast. She thinks that there's no such thing as too much chocolate, but sometimes she wants to forsake the podcast. Here is Lexi! And finally, the only person to be on every episode of the LexiCon podcast, all 367 of them, here is yours truly, Maddie!
Subtlebug.
Hello, hello, hello. We are getting ready to watch a pair of Rumbles, as I said in the cold open. The one from 10 years ago obviously will be the 2014 Royal Rumble, but we are going to begin with the 1994 Royal Rumble, 30 years ago as of January 22nd.
Nice.
Now, of course, hopefully we'll be entertaining enough that you can enjoy the show without watching along with us, but we do encourage you to watch along with us if you are so inclined. Of course, you may be doing so on your old DVD or even VHS copy of the show, but more than likely you're going to be like us and watching it on Peacock, and if so, you're going to want to navigate to WWE Premium Live Events Royal Rumble Season 7. This is the 1994 Royal Rumble, and we have skipped up to 1 hour, 36 minutes and 5 seconds. The bell just rang, and we're currently on a crowd shot as we are panning away from the announcers into Howard Finkel in the ring, who you can't see yet, but you will in just a minute. I will do my best to give a second time cue, but if you've heard this podcast at all, you know we're really bad about remembering to do that. And I don't want to mess up the video or anything the way we have it set up, so it's like 50-50 at best. But anyway, without any further ado, for those of you watching along, we'll have a countdown, 3, 2, 1, play, and we will play on play as Alex tries to encourage her cat to come over here and make some noise. So here we go, the 1994 Royal Rumble match. Of course, it's also the name of the pay-per-view. In 3, 2, 1, play. And there we go, continuing our pan over to Howard Finkel in the ring, getting ready to announce it. The late Howard Finkel, I should say. R.I.P. Good announcer. Not my favorite of all time personally, although I did love the way he would announce, and new World Wrestling Federation champion or what have you. But Gary Michael Capetta is still my favorite all-time announcer. You will not be seeing him on the show. He was working for WCW at this time. Or he may have just left WCW. This was an era that I did not... I mean, I was still a big wrestling fan. This is still part of my big, first 10-year heyday as a wrestling fan. But toward the end of 1993, I guess I started getting busy with other stuff, or just, I don't want to say I got bored with wrestling, but I wasn't watching it quite as much. I was drifting away from it just a little bit. And in fact, 94 was the year, I still paid attention to it. I'd still check in on the shows. I'd read the magazines. I knew what was going on, but I was not a week in, week out viewer at this point. In fact, I did not get this pay-per-view. And I actually think 1994 is the year that I ordered the least amount of pay-per-views. I know I got Slamboree from WCW in May. I got Bash at the Beach from WCW in July, and then SummerSlam from the WWF in August. And I think that was it for 94, which would be a really light year for me.
Interesting.
Coming to the ring first, we have one half of the Steiner brothers, who had spent most of their careers working in WCW, but had just come to the WWF at the end of 92, maybe the beginning of 93. I think they'd actually be out of the WWF before too long. Of course, Scott's nephew and Rick's brother, or not Rick's brother, Rick is Scott's brother. Rick's son, Braun Breaker, currently wrestles for NXT.
Nice.
And that's Scotty in the ring at number 1. And number 2 is going to be, I know who it is. It's, I think they were called the Head Shrinkers at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's Ricky. This is part of the same, Samoan family as the Usos and Roman and whatnot. I believe that's, I think, at one point, Rikishi, who was Jimmy and Jay's dad, teamed up with one of his cousins as the Samoan SWAT team and the Head Shrinkers, and another time he teamed up with his brother, and I'm not sure if this, I think this is his cousin, Samuel. I don't think this is his brother, Sam Fatu.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure. It could be his brother, but they're all, like I said, they're all part of the same Samoan family. In wrestling, you have all the Samoans and then Samoa Joe. The current AEW World Champion is like the only major Samoan wrestler not related to the family. And The Rock, not technically related to the family, but considered part of the family. His grandfather, who's actually not his blood grandfather, is like blood brothers with the grandfather of the Anawa'i Fatu clan. So, not technically family, but they count him as family.
Makes sense.
And of course, big news, Rock just joined the board of TKO, which is the parent company of WWE and UFC. And of course, everybody's thinking he's coming back at WrestleMania to wrestle Roman. In fact, he may have made an appearance at the Rumble last night. We don't know, because we're recording this beforehand.
Yes. Which one did you say was his cousin and which was his brother?
I think they were both Sam. I think his brother was Sam Fatu, and his cousin is like Samula Anawa'i.
Fatu is one of the head shankers. That's what I've managed to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if his brother actually ever worked there, because they worked together. Originally, it was Samula and well, we know him as Rikishi. His real name is, I can't remember his first name. A lot of people call him Junior. Junior Fatu. And then Samula left, and Rikishi's actual brother took over as part of the team. And I'm not sure who was with the team when they made the transition to W, because this is all stuff I know in hindsight. Like, I watched them wrestle, but I didn't know where they'd come from or who they were, what their family relations were. Speaking of family relations, there's Scott's brother Rick coming in to even the score.
Yep.
Steiner Brothers were like my favorite tag team in the early 90s.
Nice.
By the time they transitioned to the WWF, it was a little, I mean, WWF just didn't work as hardcore athletic a style as WCW did, so you didn't get as much good action, and they were not featured as much as I would like to have seen them been. But I mean, I still enjoyed their performance. Then by the time they came back to WCW in 1996, the bloom was kind of off the rose. I mean, they weren't bad, it just wasn't the same, for whatever reason. Scotty with the vertical suplex. Man, if this is the kind of injury y'all got, I don't think we're going to make it through the second one. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. I was going to point out, this is the WWF at this time, correct?
It is. It didn't become WWE until 2002.
The closed captioning earlier said WWE.
Interesting. They may have just...
Can't use WWF in the closed captioning?
I probably. There are weird guidelines, like you see the old school WWF logo down there. Some versions of the logo at different times have had to be blurred out in the video, and sometimes it's not. So I don't really know what governs it at this point, as far as what they can and can't say. Oh, Hangman! That's got to be a rough spot.
Yeah.
That's the spot that caused Mick Foley to lose his ear.
Oh.
Well, damn.
Oh, who is this? It's not Brian. Harvey Whippleman is the manager. I think that might be Savio Vega, who wrestled as TNT in Puerto Rico. I'm not sure. He might be Quang at this point. I believe is one of the characters he played in WWE/WWF. Look, for anybody hearing this for the first time, I'm going to go back and forth between WWE and WWF. I try to say WWE to keep it current, but it'll always be WWF to me.
I always think WWE.
I try to keep it relevant to the decade that I'm discussing.
Rick has the green mist all over his face. If I'm writing or if it's an organized plan, but if we're just sitting here,
Either could be said.
Extemporaneously talking off the top of our head, it's just going to be whatever comes out. And hopefully people will get the gist.
Yeah.
The manager who came out with, it's Quang, so that's Savio Vega. I don't believe that's his real name. That's what I knew him as when he started wrestling with WWF in '96. And like I say, he was famously TNT in Puerto Rico. We saw him at WWE Backlash this past year, the big pay-per-view in Puerto Rico. He came out and got involved in the LWO match.
The green mist stuff is reminding me of, I believe it's like Power Rangers Ninja Storm.
Mm-hmm.
The episode with like the Crimson and Navy Ranger.
Yeah. Here we go. The Blackheart, Owen Hart. Now he just turned heel earlier on in this show. His brother Brett was probably one of the presumptive favorites to win the Rumble, along with Lex Luger, and we'll get into both those stories in a minute. But at this time, Brett was doing a storyline where he voluntarily took a step back from challenging for the World Championship, so he and Owen could team up and challenge for the Tag Team Championship. And during their match with the Quebecers earlier in this show, I'm not sure if Brett was coming into the match working an injury or he just worked an injury during the match, but he was injured and he didn't tag out to Owen and caused them to lose the match. And afterwards, Owen got mad at him and beat him up and did the famous interview where he was like, "Brett, I just kicked your leg out of your leg." and he officially turned heel, and they would have an off and on feud for a good 3 years until Bret finally turned heel again in 1997 and reformed the Hart Foundation. And of course, we all know Owen tragically passed away when the stunt he was supposed to perform, rappelling down into the ring at Over the Edge in 1999, went wrong, and he fell into the ring from some 70 feet up. And he just eliminated Ricky.
Yep.
Going back to The Mist, as far as I know, it originated with a wrestler called the Great Kabuki, who I did see wrestle. Like, my parents told me I was in the crowd with them at the, what was it called? It wasn't the Armory, the Exhibition Center back in my hometown of Sumter to see NWA wrestling, and he was one of the wrestlers there. But I have no memory of it. I first saw the Great Muta, Keiji Muto, do it in WCW in the early 90s. At one time, he was, in a storyline, he was Kabuki's son, and that's part of the reason they did The Mist. And of course, nowadays, Asuka does it. I believe a number of different wrestlers do it nowadays.
Yeah.
That is one of the Smoking Guns. I don't think that's Billy. Yeah, that's Bart, who famously won the Brawl for All, which was the shoot competition they had on Raw in '98, and then went on to get knocked out by Butterbean in spectacular fashion at WrestleMania and was pretty much irrelevant after that.
Interesting.
He became irrelevant.
The
Just like a bunch
jeans-
of Dragon Ball characters.
Yeah, pretty much. He met a bigger, tougher opponent, and he wasn't good enough anymore.
He is
I'm sure he
Yamcha.
was fine. I'm not insulting him.
The jeans seem an interesting ring attire.
Yeah, well, they were the cowboy team, he and Billy Gunn, the Smoking Guns. Probably not that easy to work in jeans.
No.
You're not going to have as much flexibility.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
Unless
like
those are
jeans.
some custom jeans made from a much stretchier fabric.
Yeah, no, I mean, they pretty much look like legitimate jeans. I mean, they're not the only wrestlers to work in jeans throughout
Yeah.
the years. Just Incredible wore jean shorts in ECW. Cena, of course, wore jean shorts most of his WWF run. I know it was WWE, I'm sorry. And I think all of Cena's run was in the WWE era because he would have started with WWE around 2002, 2003. But look, it's always WWF to me. When I started wrestling, that's what it was. If I had started watching back in the 70s, I'd probably call it the WWF, except that's a mouthful. I know a lot of people were pulling for them to go back to the WWF, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
Too
When they
many
had to make
Ws.
the name change. Yeah, but it's historic, you know. That's what it was for so many years. And there's Kevin Nash. This is 94. This is before he was world champion. He had some go-nowhere gimmicks in WCW. He was one half of the Master Blasters. He was Vinny Vegas. He was Oz.
Master?
Yeah, Master Blasters.
Completely different.
And then he came into WWF this year as Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, or I guess toward the end of '93 as Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. And this is kind of his big coming out party. He's going to eliminate a lot of wrestlers during this match and really be dominant, even though he doesn't go on to win. And that's something we would see in a lot of subsequent Royal Rumbles. Somebody will come in and they'll have a really big performance and really sort of establish themselves by eliminating a lot of wrestlers. And it's commonly referred to as the Diesel spot, because that was his character's name at the time, was Diesel.
He's got tassels on his pants.
He does.
He's gonna comment on all the men's pants. That's
Alright,
what I'm
well,
here
that's what you
for.
gotta do for every person that comes out now.
Okay.
You gotta comment on the pants.
All right, Alex's pants watch.
You know, I'll be mentioning Power Rangers over here.
Or
as I
Lexi's
always do.
pants watch. I'm sorry to confuse people. She goes by a lot of names, but since the podcast was named after her when she went by
He's
Lexi.
eliminate a lot of people.
Yeah, I told you that's just he gets the big push here. Like he's not going to win the Rumble, although
Also, he himself is big.
he is. He's about 6'10", I think, legitimately, and he could have lifts in his boots that make him a little taller. That's not uncommon for wrestlers to do. Even
They
tall
always have a
wrestlers.
big guy to come in to just clean it up. There's too many people in the ring.
That's
clean
why
this up.
when I first started watching wrestling, and there's Bob Backlund, one of the longest reigning WWF champions of all time. I think it goes Bruno, Backlund, and then Roman now.
Damn.
Backlund held the title.
Doc's comment on his pants.
The choice.
They're just wrestling trunks.
Yeah.
What pants?
I think
There's
Bob,
nothing special about
I
them.
want to say Bob held the title for about 6 years, although there's a little asterisk to that because he did actually drop it in Japan for like a week and then win it back as one of those title changes they didn't acknowledge in the United States. And they may finally acknowledge it now.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, long-running champion. Like I said, I believe second only to Bruno Sammartino in longest title reign, and still pretty far ahead of Roman at this point. I think Roman's, about 4 years now?
Maybe.
I think it'll be 4 years in September or August, because I think he won it around SummerSlam in 2020. Of course, that's a little specious because technically he won the Universal Championship, which does not have a direct lineage to the World Wrestling Federation Championship, although he would eventually win the title with the direct lineage to that and unify the two. And now they have a new World Championship, and we've been through the World title history before. It's confusing.
The Universal Championship?
The Universal Championship was created in...
A real difference from that and World Championship?
Well, in 2016, they had the World Championship. And then they wanted a secondary champion because they wanted one champion for Raw and one champion for SmackDown, I believe. And so they had a tournament, and Seth Rollins and Finn Balor won the championship match at SummerSlam, and Finn Balor won it. But he got injured in the match, and they had to crown a new champion a few days later, and then Kevin Owens would win the belt. But that's when they started the Universal Championship. So technically, that lineage only goes back to like 2016. I may have the year wrong, but it's around then. It's not an old championship.
The Universal Championship is for fighting Martians.
Well, I mean, it does make a degree of sense because WWE always talks about the WWE Universe. That's how they refer to their fandom and the wrestlers and the whole wrestling family. That was Billy Gunn, who we just saw get thrown out, who would be part of DX a few years after this, but right now it's just a cowboy in jeans getting tossed out.
Yep.
He's with AEW now, and his sons, Colton and, I apologize for not knowing the other brother's name, are wrestlers with AEW.
Nice.
And there in the background we see, I believe that's Genichiro Tenryu and the aforementioned Great Kabuki attacking Lex Luger. The idea was Mr. Fuji, who was the manager for Yokozuna, against whom Luger had one championship match at SummerSlam, lost, and the deal was, that's his... Well, he didn't lose. He won. We'll get into that in a minute. But he didn't win the championship. And it was like, well, this is your only shot, and so now he's entering the Rumble to try to get another shot at the title. And the idea is Mr. Fuji's bringing these Japanese mercenaries to take him out. Lex Luger had come into the World Wrestling Federation. He actually left WCW in 1992, and that was back when he was like my favorite wrestler.
Are you entertained?
It's just silly. He's just saying that like...
Yeah, you have those moments. We were just talking about that the other day. And that's part of what makes up the Rumble. It makes it different than a regular Battle Royal is you're going to have these moments. Mike Jones! Have you ever seen the Lonely Virgil memes of Mike Jones sitting at the cons with nobody around his table?
Maybe.
Well, that's something.
I have not seen him.
Look it up if you want, or don't if you don't want to. Back to Lex Luger, though, as Kevin abuses Mike.
Who has striped pants, by the way. Very
Yes.
Beetlejuice vibes.
Yeah, I remember him having, like, red stripes when he first... He was the... Now I'm getting off topic, but Mike, as Virgil, was the manservant for Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Man character, who $1 Million Man would humiliate, and then he finally broke away from him in 1991 and became a solo wrestler and had a little bit of run, won the $1 Million Championship from the $1 Million Man at SummerSlam 91, but he never really got over too big. He was just a mid-card guy at best. But back to Luger again. He had left WCW in 92, and he joined Vince McMahon's World Bodybuilding Federation initially as a way to get around the no-compete in his contract. Mm-hmm. And then he would debut as the heel narcissist in the WWF, I believe, at the Royal Rumble in 1993. And then by the summer of 1993, they turned him babyface, tried to make him the next Hulk Hogan, made him All-American Lex Luger. He had the American flag on his tights. They kicked it off with him body slamming the allegedly 600-pound Yokozuna on the deck of the USS Intrepid when they had this big body slam contest on the 4th of July. And then Luger got the title match coming up at SummerSlam, and everybody figured he's going to beat Yokozuna and become the World Wrestling Federation champion. Famously wins the match by disqualification, and that's the kind of thing that everybody looks back to, especially like last year when Cody failed to win the championship at WrestleMania. It's like, there's a Lex Luger moment. They didn't pull the trigger when they should have. And it's not to say Luger would have been a big draw as champion or a real big success, but you put all that promotion into it, and it's like, why not go forth with it? I think the thought at the time was they needed to save the match for WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. But it just killed the momentum of Lex, and it really sort of hurt the company. I think it even affected my fandom at the time, because like I say, I was a big Lex Luger fan. He might not have been my favorite wrestler still, but I still really liked him. And watching him not lose the match, but lose the championship, it really watered things down to me like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Macho Madness ran wild in the ring, uh-huh. What do you think about my pants, Lexi? No, nothing. Come on, they're pink with leopard stripes.
Yeah,
she's examining.
Very.
And look, I
very
think there's like some microfiber there, uh-huh. Good to get the sweat out. Yeah, because I'm going to be sweating because I'm working hard in here, uh-huh. Freak out. I'm going to get this big drink of water out of the match, uh-huh. Of course, Macho Man and Kevin would be integral members of the New World Order in WCW in 1996 and 1997 during the angle that really put WCW over the top and allow them to be the number one promotion in the United States, at least for, a year or two.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to feel about the random patches or the pattern going on of however those patches are put together, but the colors are nice.
It's definitely pink.
Yeah.
I've heard Macho Man in this era described as a psychedelic cowboy because of the wild colors, and he always wore the cowboy hats.
Makes some sense.
Hey, it's Jeff Jarrett. I don't know what I was going with there.
Nice.
Jeff Jarrett's kind of a polarizing wrestler. A lot of people really did not like Jeff Jarrett, but I was always a fan of his.
One of my friends who just finished watching the 94 year, they are always complaining about him. Can't stand him.
Of course, I know nothing about him personally, but as a performer, I thought he was very good. He was a good worker. And I mean, he was a bad guy. He was supposed to be
I like his short.
hated.
His quote-unquote short.
That sort of weird top he wore in the WWF, I was never a big fan of it. It's okay.
His pants are fine. Kind of giving Power Rangers vibes.
Of course,
more Power Rangers.
son of legendary Memphis wrestler and promoter Jerry Jarrett, who just passed away last year, I believe.
Does he have sparkles?
And one of the co-founders, of course, of
He does have sparkles.
of TNA Wrestling, which has been Impact Wrestling for a long time, but has recently changed their name back to TNA, although Jeff's not with the company anymore. In fact, he works for AEW now.
Interesting.
Doing the Fargo strut. Co-opted by Ric Flair, of course, a lot of people have seen him do it.
Has anyone left the ring during a Royal Rumble?
Him and Macho Man have similar boots.
In '92, Macho Man eliminated himself to go after Jake Roberts.
No, I mean left, but to not go over the top rope. Just
2019, I think Seth Rollins, when he won, he spent half the match out. Yeah, that's not uncommon. In that case, he was a babyface, and I think they had him injured outside or something, or maybe just taking advantage of the situation. But often a heel will do that too. They'll just lay low on the outside for a while.
Just go under. Just go to McDonald's, pick up a snack.
And there's the late Bryan Adams as Crush.
Come back later to eliminate the last guy.
Who had turned heel in '93 and joined with the Foreign Menace team of Yokozuna et al. And he's actually beginning a feud with Macho Man here that would culminate in a pretty notoriously bad Falls Count Anywhere match at WrestleMania in '94. Going to the top rope is probably not a smart idea in the Rumble.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you're easy prey. I mean, at this point, Crush was down, Nash is struggling in the corner. He seems fairly safe, but that's not really the place you want to be in the Rumble, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody has done this exact thing and been eliminated because of it.
Definitely.
The double axe handle by Macho Man.
He decided, sure, I'll go to the top rope again.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin? Stay in that corner. I got business with Crush, and you don't need to be interrupting it, uh-huh?
Nobody puts Kevin in the corner.
Who just hit me in the back? Crush, you dirty dog. That punch missed. I'm not going to sell it. That was a little bit better. I'll give you a little bit for my ball spot showing. Turn me around. There we go. Much better, uh-huh. Crush pointed at him pin him. No, you can't do that. I'll drop the elbow instead. I can't pin him. That would look stupid. Although famously, the 1993 Royal Rumble, that's how Macho Man lost it. He had Yokozuna down, he hit him with the elbow drop, and he went for a pin on him. And Yokozuna just pressed him completely over the top rope.
Damn.
Okay. Which obviously Macho had to help with, but it was kind of a cool image. And here comes the evil clown Doink. Although he's got Dink with him, so he may have been a babyface at this point. Doink was originally portrayed by the late Matt Bourne, but once Matt left the company, other wrestlers would be under the mask, I believe. Oh gosh, now the name's escaping. I think Steve Kern did it a couple of times. I think Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, did it a couple of times too. I'm not sure who's under the mask at this point.
Wrestling show or something.
That's for sure.
It may well still be Matt Bourne at this point. Matt Bourne, who I first saw as Big Josh, the wrestling lumberjack in WCW.
It feels like you can take this screenshot and then use it for a million memes.
Definitely.
Just these two.
He squirt him with the flour.
These two fairly serious.
Which he caught Nash with it unexpectedly, but Crush saw him squirt Nash, and he had to walk 2 or 3 paces before he got it. That looked kind of bad. Hey, I want some too. Don't leave me out. I'm parched.
Who decided? Yeah, let's have a clown wrestle.
Bruce Pritchard. No, Vince. I don't know.
I bet it was Vince.
But I have heard it defended as a lot of people are afraid of clowns. Yeah. So an evil clown is not a terrible. Stephen King wrote a pretty damn long book about an evil clown.
I don't see what's so scary about him.
No, me neither. But I mean, still, an evil clown is kind of the dichotomy of being this goofy, somebody who's supposed to entertain children and be lighthearted, and then he's evil. I can see how it could work. I mean, I always thought it was stupid too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's not my kind of thing.
More deceased wrestlers coming down the ring, although they weren't deceased at the time. Luna Vachon leading Scott Bam Bam Bigelow to the ring.
Do his pants match up with his shirt today? Is the
You had a
question.
big issue with that at the King of the Ring.
I still have an issue with it.
I can't tell.
Yeah,
They seem to line up.
They look
At
better.
least a little
It looks
bit.
like they're much more in sync this time.
Yeah.
And of course, Luna heading to the back because managers and valets don't stay at ringside for the Rumble, so there's really not even that much point in them walking their charges down.
They're just there to be there.
Oh, is she gonna throw out the clown?
I'm okay with
That's an
this.
impressive spot. If you can press somebody over the top rope and then Bourne or whomever's under the mask taking the bump, that's a big spot. You're not going to be able to cushion your fall too much on that one. Crush and Diesel working together to get Bam Bam out.
It's not going well.
Bam Bam would headline not WrestleMania 94, but WrestleMania the next year in a match against ex-football player Lawrence Taylor.
Yes.
Have we haven't watched that, have we?
No, I've just been hearing it a lot because of the friend that I just mentioned. They're almost at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and Kevin would be defending the World Wrestling Federation Championship against Shawn Michaels at that same pay-per-view.
Nice.
So both those guys would have bigger and better things than a mid-card spot in the Rumble in their futures.
Man, don't all these guys know you can't throw punches in wrestling?
Technically true. Although, I don't think there's any disqualifications in the Royal Rumble.
Punches are allowed in the
We have seen foreign objects occasionally used, so I do think there are technically no
Yo,
disqualifications.
grab some shit from below the ring.
All right, we got, I hate to say it, another deceased wrestler.
Yeah, that goes a lot.
Yeah. Especially going further back with watching things, of course.
Yeah, but this is only 30 years ago. Most of these guys shouldn't be dead yet.
No.
There is too high a mortality rate in wrestling. That's Nelson Frazier. His wrestling name at the time was Mabel. He was one half of a hip-hop-based tag team, Men on a Mission, Mo and Mabel, and their manager was Oscar, so they were M-O-M, and also Men on a Mission.
Nice.
Mabel, obviously one of the biggest competitors ever. He and Kevin would wrestle in the main event of SummerSlam 95 in another notoriously bad match.
That looked painful.
Well, that is the point, but it may well have been too, so... 4 big guys in the ring now, and Mabel's probably the biggest of them.
Yeah.
Generally, big guys have the advantage in a Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Of course, Andre the Giant was famous for winning Battle Royals all throughout his career. They never won the Royal Rumble, though. I mean, only appeared in one, I think. And that was toward the very end of his career.
I can't tell for sure if it's just folded or what, but that side of his pants and shirt situation was not matching just now.
Who, Bigelow?
Yeah.
Well, if it's 2 separate pieces, it's going to move during
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's 2 separate pieces, I understand. But it might also be folded.
And Casio was sponsoring the countdown clock, I see.
Yes.
Haven't mentioned that. Fine watches. Bob Holly, who at the time was... Okay, originally he was doing a race car driver gimmick when he came in, and he actually did do some minor league races. So he was legitimately a 2-sport athlete for a while. But he came in with the name Thurman Plug, and his nickname was Sparky, like spark plug, so Sparky Plug. Mm-hmm. But it was supposed to be Sparky Thurman Plug, which makes no sense because you wouldn't put the Thurman in between. So his initials could be STP, like the oil. That didn't last very long. Then he just became Bob Sparkplug Holly.
Reasonable.
And we see we're coming live from the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island, where we won't spend an inordinate amount of time trying to find our location in GeoGuessr over at twitch.tv/Vidiocy.
Oh, always fun to be in Rhode Island.
Where you've never actually been.
No. And
Is it
the
always
friends
fun
I've
to be in
had who
Rhode Island?
have been/lived there don't agree.
They got Crush on the apron, but he's going to roll back under the ring. Of course, you have to go out over the top rope, and both feet must touch the floor.
Yes.
Which they would, I want to say the next year, 95, is when Shawn first did the go over the top and hold on to the rope and only one foot touches, which we would see, multiple times after that.
Yo, how to win the Royal Rumble. Just don't have 2 feet.
You're joking, but there was a one-legged wrestler named Zach Gowen who did wrestle for WWE for a couple of years.
I assume it wasn't in the Royal Rumble at all.
I don't remember. That was a time when I wasn't watching constantly. Oh, speaking of Shawn, This is like some of my favorite era Shawn Michaels.
Both feet can't touch the floor if they're on both feet.
And then Shawn and Diesel, of course, Diesel's his bodyguard, so they're not going to hook up. It's one of those times where like, hey, we're on the same side here. Oh, maybe not, though. Diesel's coming toward him. Shawn's begging off.
Hey, chill out, man.
This is
buddy.
Shawn's ring gear back then. The zebra stripes, the fingerless gloves, and he didn't wear it here, but he has like
I love fingerless gloves.
The shiny jacket and or vest, depending on what he's wearing. With like, that was my favorite ring gear of all time. I love Shawn's look back then.
I'm not sure what some of my favorite.
You don't even need to weigh in on his pants. His gear's the best.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about fingerless
and there
gloves?
goes Diesel being dumped out.
He's finally out.
I love fingerless gloves. I've had
I
multiple.
also love
pretty
fingerless
cool, yeah.
gloves.
I lost a pair at a creek down by my grandparents' house one time. I took them off and hung them on a tree to walk around and then forgot about them.
I'm sorry. I assume they weren't there by the time you went.
That was also the creek.
Oh, you didn't realize
that was
until
also
you
the creek
left.
where we saw a really big turtle in the water. One
That's
time.
why you always need pockets to put things in.
I like turtles.
I probably had pockets. I mean, maybe not. I didn't have a camera with me though, so I couldn't take a picture of the turtle.
I'm sorry.
So Diesel was eliminated. Shawn did not participate in eliminating him, but he didn't help keep him in either. So, but like I say, it'd still be another year or so before there'd be any real tension between them. And then they'd reunite right after WrestleMania and wouldn't have tension again for another year.
6, 5,
Until Diesel would turn heel right before he went to WCW to help start the New World Order and kick off WCW's winning streak over the WWF. And here comes the other half of Men on a Mission, Mo. I apologize, I don't know Mo's real name. I know I've heard it, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. As far as I know, Mo's still with us.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of morbid. Of the guys in the ring, let's see. 3 of them are deceased and 3 of them are with us still.
That's 50%.
Yeah, from only 30 years ago, too. And this isn't like, these guys aren't like 50 years old at the time, so that's a shame.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't eliminate him. We won't eliminate him.
And of course, another situation where we have tag team partners in the ring together. That was always one of the fun things about the Rumble, is seeing situations like that where you'd have guys in the ring to potentially wrestle against each other when they know, Shawn's doing they call that skinning the cat, where you go over the top rope and hold on and bring yourself back in.
Interesting.
And I assume, of course, his feet didn't hit the floor, but then again, if they did, nobody but the fans on that side would realize it because they didn't have a camera over there.
Yeah.
That was the big Ricky Steamboat spot. The going over the top rope and then pulling yourself back in.
Interesting.
Imagine if we didn't do that as an accident. It just fell. So, whoops.
I'm sure it's happened. I believe things like that have happened in the Rumble, too, where guys weren't supposed to be eliminated, but they were.
I was going to say, how often has it happened in the Rumble that
I know specifically of it happening with Steve Austin in maybe his first Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
He got eliminated and he wasn't supposed to. At that point, I mean, he wasn't going to win it, so it's ultimately not that big of a deal.
Doesn't really matter unless you're supposed to win.
Right. The only time I know of, and of course I'm not an insider, also Greg the Hammer Valentine's come in, son of Johnny Valentine, legendary wrestler from the 70s. And Greg himself is a pretty accomplished wrestler. He was Ric Flair's tag team partner for Ric Flair's first World Championship run when they were World Tag Team Champions in the NWA. What were we talking about? I was going to say something.
People going out when they're not supposed to.
Oh, yeah. The only time I know of the finish really being affected by that is, and I don't know the year, it would have been mid-2000s when Batista and John Cena both went out at the same time.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell which one hit first or they both hit at the same time. So either the wrong guy hit first or they both at the same time. And then Vince McMahon, of course, notoriously came out, stomped down the ring, tore both his quads, and had to make the announcement the match was restarting while sitting in the corner, unable to stand up. But,
I mean, oof, but...
Yeah.
Now, do you two know who wins this Rumble? I don't want to spoil anything if you don't want to be spoiled.
I don't know.
Do you want to be spoiled? Or
I do not care.
Okay, well, of course, this is the year that Bret Hart and Lex Luger go over the top rope simultaneously. But everything I've ever read and heard on the subject said that was the plan, that it wasn't a mistake. And of course, they just became co-winners and would end up having both getting a world title shot at WrestleMania that year. It wasn't a triple threat match. It was a situation where they had a coin flip, which I'm sure was worked. with the winner getting the first shot at the champion, who was Yokozuna, and the loser having to wrestle another wrestler. For Brett, it would have been Owen. For Luger, it would have been Crush. And then whoever won the world title match in the middle of the show would go on to face the wrestler who lost the coin flip in the second world title match on the show. Kind of a cool concept.
Yeah.
And it would turn out Luger would win the coin flip but lose the match against Yokozuna via disqualification. And Brett would lose to Owen but still go on to beat Yokozuna for the world championship in the main event. And
There's too many people in this ring. We need a big guy to come in and throw them all out.
I mean, at least this is better than a standard battle royal where you're just going to have all 20 or 30 guys in the ring right from the start. Those are okay to watch, but I mean, it's hard to really do too much in those.
Mm-hmm.
Sean bracing, that had to be a little painful the way he went over, but it was creative though. I don't see that a lot in the Rumble. God, what number Rumble are we up to this year? If it started in '88, 36, 37. I think 37 this year.
Damn.
Of course, the first Royal Rumble, it wasn't a pay-per-view. It was just a TV special meant to go up against the pay-per-view being presented by Jim Crockett Promotions. And then in '89, they'd have the first Royal Rumble on pay-per-view. Here's the wrestler I spoke of earlier, the Great Kabuki. Who like I said, if I've watched this match, I've just gone back and watched it since. I did not get it at the time, and I don't ever remember seeing Kabuki. I remember my parents talking about him because he did have a run in Jim Crockett Promotions in the NWA in the either late '70s or early '80s.
Nice.
But as I say, he's supposed to be one of the Japanese mercenaries that Mr. Fuji has brought in to keep Luger away from Yokozuna's World Championship. Oh, the video kind of stopped there for a second. I don't know if that was our internet or if it was actually something on the video, but I think we should be fine. Maybe I should give a time cue now.
Okay.
Since we talked about it. We are at 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 33, 34, 35, as they're trying to eliminate Big Mabel, and they got him out. Yeah, that's another common spot where you have the really big guy like Big Show or whomever, and a bunch of wrestlers team up to get him out of the match.
Yeah.
I'd say whenever there's more than like 4 people in the ring, that's too many.
I don't know. This isn't a bad assemblage of wrestlers because you got room to do a few things, and you can have some team ups and some interesting things going on.
And you can have people just taking a break.
I mean, that's the good thing about the Rumble is like it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're gonna have more wrestlers, sometimes you're gonna have less. Sometimes you're gonna have one guy waiting for other wrestlers to come out. Sometimes you're gonna have just a couple wrestling. You'll have 3. So it's a bunch of different matches in one.
Yeah.
But I think you do need moments where the ring starts to fill up. And here comes the, like I said, the presumptive favorite, the All-American Lex Luger. All right, comment on his pants. We've been slacking here.
They are the American flag, sort of.
Yeah.
Definitely based on it.
Yep. Like I said, Lex, when I first started wrestling in 1990... I didn't start wrestling. Yeah, I started wrestling in 1990 when I was 11.
Youngest wrestler.
When I first started watching...
our youngest wrestler.
I said modern.
When I started watching wrestling in 1990, and for a couple of years, Lex Luger was my favorite wrestler. And I was still a fan of his at this point. I was excited to see him come to the WWF, and I was all in on the All-American run. All-American run. I mean, I could take or leave the overt jingoism there, but I was just happy that he was getting a push and was going to get a shot to be the world champion. Mm-hmm. And I was actually sorry that it didn't work out. And even if I wasn't a Lex Luger fan, I still feel like if you're going to put that push behind him, give him the belt. If you feel like he needs to wrestle Yokozuna at WrestleMania, then let Yoko take it back at some other point, you know?
Yeah. I like Lex Luger.
But I do think that's one of the biggest... Would it have changed business that much? Probably not, but you should have taken the chance, you know? You built up to it. Go all the way with it. I mean, by this point, I was glad that Brett won the Rumble with him, and I was glad to see Brett win the title back, because Brett probably was my favorite wrestler at this point. Mm-hmm. And like his performance at King of the Ring in '93, which we watched on the podcast, one of my all-time favorite performances. His match with Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam '91 was my favorite match at this time. It's only been eclipsed by his match, his being Brett, his match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12. So at this point, I was probably more behind Brett, but I still think Luger should have at least had a chance with the title. And I think that's... I know I'm pronouncing this wrong. His name looks like Genichiro Tenryu. You can see his last name on screen there, or maybe it's his first name, because I apologize. I always get mixed up with Japanese naming conventions, because we tend to say first name first, last name last. And in Japan, I think it's the opposite, but sometimes if you're saying it in English, you're going to say it the other way. So I don't really know what his the order of his name is. And I've heard his name, Genichiro, pronounced, and I know that's not how I've heard it pronounced, but I can't remember how I've heard it pronounced.
I'm sorry.
I have no idea what number we're up to by now.
Pretty legendary wrestler in Japan. Big run with, I believe, I'm probably going to get it wrong. I think it was All Japan in the late 80s. And then he would leave and he'd wrestle for other promotions. Eventually start his own promotion called WAR, W-A-R, which was originally Wrestle and Romance.
Okay.
Japanese naming conventions. Japanese wrestling has some great tag team names, though. They have, like, the Gorillas of Destiny.
So how much romance was there?
The Miracle Violence Connection. They have some of the best tag team names ever. And then eventually it would apparently just be changed to Wrestle Association R, which means nothing either. But I have no idea. I didn't watch any of the promotion. I don't have any of the tapes or anything.
Okay, but tell me that doesn't sound like a dating sim.
I was going to say wrestling dating sim.
I was going to say, yeah, it sounds like
I'd play it.
a playable graphic novel in a video game.
I'd play it. What wrestlers need to be in it, though?
Ric Flair. That's it.
The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. You might
It's like
not
5 different Ric Flairs.
You don't want to. You might want to dial that back. There's been some allegations. You might not want to. Bret Hart.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a married man, but he's admitted to cheating. So.
We can put him in. This is a fictional world.
Personal feelings aside, Bret Hart's book Hitman, easily one of the 2 best wrestling books I've ever read. That and Mick Foley's first book.
I'll say, can we put Mick Foley in the game?
I mean, somebody loved him.
The Clown.
Wait, we have.
He's been married for like 30 years.
We have visual novel maker,
dead.
don't we?
Yes. I hold by it. For you.
I've never made anything.
You touched it once. Was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Never touched it again.
It's not a simple system.
It's not a support system. I don't have my support. I need more customer support.
I need my emotional support.
He looked up for a second and just looked like he was chilling on the top rope, like sup.
Yeah. Singing break.
I have to admit, in any kind of battle royal, that the constant spots of like, oh, I'm about to go over. No, I'm not. They get tedious. Just like in a ladder match, the constant slow climbs, and I've almost got the belt.
I swear it's a competition for how slow they can climb in those matches.
And like the cage matches where the object is to leave the cage, those 2, the climbs and the slow crawls toward the door. Kofi Kingston and I think Randy Orton, no, Dolph Ziggler, I think, worked a really good cage match a few years ago when Kofi was world champion with the stipulation where you could win by leaving the cage. But in general, I hate that stipulation because it makes no sense. The idea of a cage is to keep the guys in, keep outside interference out, but the idea of escaping the cage is ridiculous. Oh, you win the match by running away.
Bye-bye.
I hate that stipulation. I see Mabel's on the outside there with the model Rick Martel trying to push him out. Tatanka's in the ring. Chris Chavez, we haven't talked much about him. I would say doing the Native American gimmick, but as far as I know, he is legitimately a Native American, so
nice.
I guess it is a gimmick, but it's also not a gimmick.
Yeah.
Half a gimmick.
I mean, pretty much anything you do in wrestling is a gimmick, but it doesn't mean it's not your reality as well.
Yeah.
And of course, they say the best gimmicks are just the real you turned up a bit, like Stone Cold or Mick in his later years or Ric Flair.
Yeah. Very iconic names.
Oh, definitely, especially from my era of wrestling.
Yeah.
Back when I wrestled, kid.
Speaking of those, I was going to say with the dating sim, we've named some guys from like this point of time, mainly and whatnot.
We need some more modern.
I was going to say we have to mix in some of the moderns. And are we just putting in the guys, or are we including the girls too? Oh, are we making 2 separate games for some reason?
Undertaker.
Okay.
You should definitely have both.
That's what I was thinking. I don't know when we're magically making a wrestling dating sim. Maddie, we're going to need a lot of information from you.
I mean, the problem is a lot of these are trademarked.
Nobody says we can sell it.
You're gonna have to make like slight variation. And here comes Brett limping out. Remember, he had the injury in the match with Owen, and then Owen attacked him afterwards. So they were playing up: is Brett even gonna make it back for the Rumble?
I'm here.
So here he comes limping out. All right, comment on Brett's outfit.
It's black and it's pink and it's iconic.
Yeah, right. Sean's gear this time is my favorite, but Brett's
and he's got
right
the
behind
hearts,
it.
doesn't he?
What's
he
with
does.
The
hearts on his pants represent each of his 4 children.
Yeah.
When he had less children, he had less hearts. But yeah.
Why does it look like he got splashed with a bucket of paint?
It's just a style. It's the 90s, bro.
I mean, fair point. Okay, last question about the dating sim, though. Most important. Who's everybody pursuing? Maddie?
Not any of the ones who listed so far.
Who are you heading into the game to pursue?
For me, that's for the people.
Maddie, you got nobody?
Crush is working over Brett's knee in the corner, but I'm not sure he's working over the correct knee.
He's done with the dating sim.
Bob Holly's still in the match. Tenru's still in the match. Mo is still in the match. The Hammer's still in there. There's the model trying to get Sean out.
Reasonable.
Bob Holly helping. Bigelow's still in.
He's been in it for a minute.
One thing about the Rumble he was in pretty early.
Yeah.
One thing about the Rumble besides, of course, who wins mattering, the final four in the Rumble was always kind of a big deal. Most years they tend to spotlight the last four in the ring. You know, that's kind of a moment. I don't remember any particular. Okay, here we go. Here's the other half of the head shrinkers. Rikishi. I apologize. I think his first name is like... So it starts with an S. It's like Salifa. I'm not sure if that is Rikishi, though. I have to get another look at him. Unless all three of them were in there at the time, though, it has to be Rikishi. Because I know he was there at the time, not under the name Rikishi. That was a later persona he portrayed during the Attitude Era. But yeah, his first name was like Salifa or Solafalu, something like that. I'd have to see it. I can't remember because I'm just used to calling him Rikishi, and I know his friends refer to him as Junior. Mm-hmm. But again, father of Jimmy and Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa. Cousin of Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the Samoan dynasty. And the guy leading him to the ring was either Afa or Sika from the original Wild Samoans in the WWF. And I think Afa is Roman's dad, and Sika is his uncle, but I may have that backwards. And I'm not sure which one was the manager at this point. But that could have been Roman's dad, is what I'm saying. If it wasn't his dad, it was his uncle.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is Rikishi. I'd have to get a good look at his face to be sure, but I don't remember the Samoans being in the WWF in the 90s without Rikishi being half the team. Like I say, I know Samu left, and Rikishi's brother actually took over the spot for a while. And there's Marty Jannetty, who was Sean's tag team partner when he first came into the World Wrestling Federation. Still one of my favorite angles of all time when they broke up on Brutus the Barber Beefcake show, The Barbershop, where they had the big glass window and Sean super kicked him and threw him through the glass window. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I'd really seen something like that in wrestling. Still one of the best angles of all time. And you see Marty going after Sean. Clearly the rivalry has not died down in the intervening years. Marty was in and out of the company, though. He had various issues. He would get fired and come back, get fired and come back. So he and Sean never had a real sustained run for their feud. But anytime he was there, they'd, of course, hook back up until Sean had so clearly eclipsed him to the point where, Sean was working main events and Marty was not.
Yeah. He has black and these neon yellow or green.
That's pretty much, well, that's what Sean would have been wearing 4 years before this when he was one half of the Rockers.
Nice. I was going to say it looks...
it's pretty cool gear.
It looks nice in the ring next to Brett's black and hot pink.
It's pretty cool gear, especially, like I say, for the late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. It was good ring gear. It based somewhat on the Rock and Roll Express's gear, and the Rockers were kind of a ripoff of the Rock and Roll Express. Probably one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Not that the Rockers weren't a great team. I mean, give them their due as well, but they did come later.
Yeah.
I saw somebody the other day online talking about the fact that the Oscar Wilde version of the quote is, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. Mm-hmm. Which is true, but he didn't create the quote, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. That actually predates his birth even.
Yes.
Another writer actually coined that phrase originally.
What writer?
So it, huh?
What writer?
See something. I can't remember. I only know that because he's attributed to the quote. Colin something, maybe.
Okay.
But my point is, yes, that would make a big difference in the quote, except for the fact that the first half of the quote predates Oscar Wilde. So he didn't coin that phrase. He expanded it, Mm-hmm. He modified it, definitely with what he said, but the quote still stands in and of itself. If it was original to Wilde, then yes, you could say, of course, you need the other half of that because it changes things. But the fact that the first half of the quote actually predates him and existed independently of his expansion of it, I think you can still use the quote as most people do. And then we see Bob Holly eliminated from the match.
Yep.
As Bam Bam works over Luger in the corner, and Tatanka's trading blows with Brian Clark, a.k.a. Adam Bomb at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Would wrestle as Mortis in WCW, and then eventually one half of the tag team Chronic with Brian Clark, who's Crush at this point, who I believe has been eliminated. I don't see him in there. And now Adam Bomb's hooking up with the model. Not like that. They're collar and elbow tie up. They're wrestling. Shawn and Brett, one of the all-time greatest rivalries that never really was. I mean, we've talked about it. They had like 3 big-time matches in the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure they had some house show runs, and his tag teams, when Brett was one half of the Hart Foundation and Shawn was one half of the Rockers, they would hook up a few times. But a lot of their rivalry was behind the scenes and just a personal rivalry in real life. It never really was that Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat kind of rivalry that it should have been in the ring, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Still, probably my 2 all-time favorite wrestlers, along with Ric Flair. And no, I'm not condoning any of Ric Flair's outside the ring actions. I'm talking about as a performer in the ring.
Nice.
And,
The author, I looked it up, it says that the earliest known use of the exact expression was in whatever by Charles Caleb Colton.
yes, I knew there was a C there. I knew
Definitely
it was
a C.
So yeah, and I mean, Wilde was born in like 1856, so it predates Wilde's birth even. So, and I appreciate the quote from Wilde, and it's a great quote, but don't act like people are being disingenuous when they use the first half of that quote when it did predate that quote by Wilde. Unless somebody specifically says, well, Oscar Wilde said imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. If you're specifically quoting Wilde, then yes, you need to include the whole thing.
Yes.
But if you're just using the quote, which existed before Wilde, then you're perfectly fine, and it's perfectly justified.
October 16th, 1854 was when Oscar Wilde was born.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, I was 2 years off. Were you going to get any closer without looking it up?
No. I was just
Should
curious.
just use your time machine to figure it out.
So God was bored with the match because there's too many wrestlers in the ring right now.
Yeah, that's what I was
As Sean's trying to eliminate his former partner, Marty.
Everyone is kind of doing mediocre things. It's like,
yeah, I mean, the more it fills
out.
up, the more it's going to slow down. But like I say, I think that's what makes the Royal Rumble special, is that you do have different segments of the match. There are going to be times where it slows down and guys are just working it over, and then there's going to be times when the ring thins out. So, I mean, that's what makes it something special. Like, I don't hate a Battle Royal. It's fine, but it's clearly not the most exciting thing you can do. But the Royal Rumble is something pretty special.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously some years are going to be better than others. And, a lot of years are going to look fairly similar, but Greg's been in there a while.
Mm-hmm.
Bigelow's been in there a while. You see him getting a little rest on the ropes, but giving Luger a boot to the gut. Big elbow strike. Almost a European uppercut as Rikishi hits the super kick on Marty Jannetty. And Shawn stomping Brett.
Who was just trying to throw him over the ropes and did not succeed.
Like I say, Shawn would win the Rumble in both 95 and 96. One of probably a handful of wrestlers who have won back-to-back Rumbles. Probably only a handful have won multiple. I think Austin only won... No, he won 3, because technically he won in 97. So technically he won back-to-back in 97. I say technically because in 97, Austin was eliminated from the match, but the refs didn't see it. Then he came back in and eliminated Brett to further their feud. And that just always bugged me as a fan, He was clearly eliminated. He can't be the winner. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was a heel, and I get all that, but I mean, still, there needs to be some credibility to the match,
Yeah.
I think Brock Lesnar won multiple Rumbles. Not sure who else off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Cena might have won multiple. Maybe. I think Batista's definitely won multiple because he won the aforementioned Rumble where we talked about him and Cena going over the top rope at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, spoilers, also won in 2014, the Rumble we're going to watch after this.
Batista's one of my favorites.
I'm aware of that.
Were the listeners aware of it, though?
Depends on how long time they've been listeners.
Exactly.
How long of a time. How long-term of a listener they are. Sean and Marty hooking up over on the ropes again. Again, not like that.
Sounds like funny statement.
Sounds like we're talking about the dating sim again.
Yup.
Yeah, the dating sim.
I'm pretty sure somebody just got eliminated. Tatanka's out of the match now.
Oh no, somebody got eliminated.
I remember seeing Tatanka when he was just Chris Chavez, either in Global Wrestling, which I used to watch on ESPN in the afternoons in like '91, or there was a local independent group that I could pick up in the Carolinas. I know Conan and Chris Walker was part of the local independent group. Chris Chavez might have been as well. Then, of course, before long, he'd show up in the WWF as Tatanka with the that was his little war cry that would start his music, and then his music would kick in dun 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 dun. Oh, Bam Bam up and over. Luger knock him out. Luger hit him with a forearm there, and part of that is he had a motorcycle accident after he left WCW, as we see Sean eliminating Marty, and he legitimately had a metal plate inserted in his forearm, and that was like his finishing move when he first came to WWF. He'd hit people with the bionic forearm.
Interesting.
And then at one point they said, "Oh, that's illegal. You can't do that anymore." And storyline wise, of course.
Yeah.
Which always kind of bummed me out, because, I mean, his finishing move is the Human Torture Rack, which is basically a submission backbreaker where you put the wrestler on your shoulders and you hold their leg in their head. Mm-hmm. Really cool finishing move. I mean, obviously, you're only going to be able to do... I mean, Luger's plenty strong. You can see his physique. I'm sure he can get most wrestlers up in it, but obviously there's going to be some... He's not going to put Mabel up in it. Mm-hmm. By and large, he could put it on most wrestlers. So I was sorry to see them abandon it. I'm sure he used it some, but it wasn't his main finisher in the WWF.
Yeah.
Oh, Rikishi and Sean. Pancake together by Luger and Brett. We must be getting down toward the end of the match here.
Probably.
I haven't seen a wrestler come out in a while. We've got Tenryu, Sean, Brett, Rikishi, and Luger in the match still. Mm-hmm. We could be just about down to the final four here. Let's see if I can give another time key without screwing things up. 2 hours, 30 minutes, and 37, 38, 39. Tenryu just got eliminated. And this might be our final four.
Alright.
Rikishi, who was known as Fatu at the time, which is his legitimate last name. Bret the Hitman Hart. The All-American Lex Luger. And the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. It's a pretty good final four. Especially Shawn and Bret and Lex. And Rikishi's a good hand, too. Nothing against him, but he was a tag team wrestler at the time. He hadn't had a singles run yet.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Shawn with the flip over. Oh, he's going to dump Bret out. He's going to dump him out. But Bret's holding on.
Oh, he's going to dump him out. He's going to dump him out.
And I apologize if that's not Rikishi. I haven't gotten a good look at his face. Like, I could recognize Rikishi's face if I can see it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I don't ever remember the Head Shrinkers being in the WWF without Rikishi being half the team. Still not getting a good look at his face. I'm pretty sure it's Rikishi. Again, not as revenge.
More than half of them laying down.
I mean, they're calling him Fatu, and I don't think... His brother was the Tonga Kid for a while in the WWF. I don't think he ever went by just Fatu, so I'm almost positive that is Rikishi. And I'm going to stand by that. If I'm wrong, I apologize.
Okay.
This is an interesting... Let's see. Man, come like 99, Bret Hart and Lex are going to be in WCW. Shawn's going to be retired with a back injury, and Rikishi's going to be dancing with his butt hanging out. Double suplex by Shawn and Rikishi. Oh, they're going to take Lex out. They got him on the apron. Come on, you got to get him on the floor. No, Luger fighting back. Punches, lefts, rights, knocking him out.
All that's illegal.
Technically illegal, but there are no disqualifications in the Royal Rumble, Gabo. As Luger rams Shawn in the turnbuckle, hops back over the top rope. Big clothesline off that too. Look at him turning him over. Luger's firing up. Gotta adjust the trunks. Can't have a wedgie when he's going to win the match. That's not what you want in the magazines. Well, maybe some people do, but Lex clearly doesn't. Oh, are we going to pancake again? We got Shawn and Fatu in opposite corners. Oh, Shawn with the leapfrog. Oh, and double elimination. That's a pretty cool spot. I like that.
That guy in the green shot.
In the crowd. Collar and elbow tie-up, lefts and rights, fists of flying. Bret Hart and Lex Luger, one of these men will win the 1994 Royal Rumble and go on to main event WrestleMania. This is actually only the second year that they'd had that stipulation in the Royal Rumble. Initially, you didn't get anything. Oh, there we go. Both men over. And who hit the floor first? Who hit the floor first? Who's the winner?
Hugging.
Oh, God.
Brett in his book gives a lot of credit to Lex for carrying them over the ropes and making sure they hit at the same time. Bruce Pritchard on his podcast always gives a lot of credit to Brett. So whoever gets the credit, apparently they managed. And of course, you see clearly the camera was not on them when they went over, just in case they didn't hit it right. But we'll see if they show any replays, of course, how well they hit it. And I mean, the fans watching, it's a split second. Unless it's super obvious, you're not going to be like, well, clearly Luger hit first.
Yeah. Just that one fan in the front row looking that closely.
Yeah. I feel like I was saying something, and I can't remember what it was.
Me neither.
Damn it, what was I just saying, Gaba?
I don't know.
Oh,
You
no.
were saying something?
I was saying something, and then they both went over.
He's resting his head.
I was making a point, but that point is clearly gone. Well, that's a shame. I'll have to go back and listen and finish it on the next episode.
Alright.
That's referee Earl Hebner, who would infamously help screw Brett out of the championship at the Montreal screw job.
Still with the paint splat on his shirt.
Yes.
Dude, that's like late 80s, early 90s as fuck. No, my class for field day, that was literally how we did our t-shirts. We did like this little black paint splatter on them.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I'm feeling that, man.
In general, I like paint splatter look.
Oh, he's going back in. He's got an injury except when he's
I know what I was saying. I was talking about the Royal Rumble and the fact that for the first few Royal Rumbles, 88, 89, 90, 91, the prize for winning was simply winning the Rumble. And then in 92, the championship was vacated, and the winner of the Rumble would win the championship, and that was the infamous year that Ric Flair went from third all the way through and won his first World Wrestling Federation championship. And then starting 93, and every year since, the winner would get a shot at the World Champion at WrestleMania. So this was technically the second year that the World Championship shot was on the line.
How many times have they gotten the chance and lost?
I would have to look it up, Lex. 30-some years, remember? If this was 30 years ago, that means, what, 31 of them now. That's Jack Tunney, who was part of the...
His suit is doing the rainbows on the camera.
Yeah, well, he was part of the Tunney brothers, who were the promoters, and I think some of them were actually wrestlers in Toronto. And then once the World Wrestling Federation really started expanding nationally, they came on board, and he became the figurehead president of the World Wrestling Federation. So, in storyline, he's the president of the World Wrestling Federation. That's why he's out here now.
Interesting. I like when they wear the suits that do the rainbows.
I don't like...
Like, it's a little annoying, but also it's cool.
The tie's a little short, and it's come out of the jacket.
Yeah.
No wonder the fans always booed him when they saw him. Okay, now we're going to see a replay where we can actually see them go over. Yeah, still from this angle. Completely inconclusive.
I mean, it looks like they were touched about the same.
It'd be really nice if they had a shot of them actually going over. And like I say, the eventual verdict here is that both wrestlers won. I don't know if they actually announced that on the pay-per-view, or if they saved it for Raw or what. Let's see, this one might be a little more conclusive angle. Nah, well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, you still can't see, but man, they did time that pretty damn well. It's certainly not obvious that one hit before the other, if that's the case. But as I say, the eventual conclusion is that they had co-winners, and they would both go on to get a title shot at WrestleMania, which Luger would be unsuccessful in his attempt, and Brett would win the championship. Eventually losing it to Bob Backlund, who we saw earlier in the match. He would turn heel, win the championship from Brett. And then 3 days later, Kevin Nash would win his first world championship as Diesel, beating Bob Backlund, and hold the title for about a year until Brett won it back at Survivor Series in 95, eventually losing it to Shawn Michaels, and my favorite match of all time at WrestleMania 12.
Nice.
So, yeah, Fink's going back and was like, what am I supposed to announce? I don't know. What am I announcing?
It only took them a minute to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good drama. Come on, Fink, announce it. I think there might have been something with the hotline, too, like, call to vote to see who you thought won.
Interesting.
So I'm not even sure if they actually have an announcement here. You see the announcers are going back and forth saying, maybe this guy won it, maybe this guy won it.
Another replay.
This might actually be the... Oh, no, because it's still from the far side. Yeah, I mean, they timed it really well, but clearly... They may legitimately have not even had a camera over there. Or maybe it was, okay, well, yeah, Brett's technically hit first or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But from all the angles we've seen, it looked very good.
Definitely.
The winner of the 1994 WWF Royal Rumble... I know it says WWE on there, but he did not say that. There was no such thing back in 1994. Yeah. The winners are Lex Luger and Bret Hitman Hart. So there we have it for the first and only time co-winners of the WWE/WWF Royal Rumble. Alright, and from there we're going to go both 20 years into the future and 10 years into the past. That's right, we're going to be watching the 2014 edition of the Royal Rumble now. Again, if you're watching along with us on Peacock, I guess you can just jump up a few years, but if you're starting here for some reason, because this was the only one you were interested in, for posterity's sake, you go to WWE Premium Live Events Royal Rumble Season 27. It's the 2014 Royal Rumble, and for anyone watching along, we have skipped up to 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 54 seconds. We'll count down from 3, and on play, we'll all play together. Anything y'all want to throw in before we start?
No.
All right, then let's go back to 2014 in 3, 2, 1, play. The bell is just rung, and the ring announcer is in the match. I apologize. Okay, it's Justin Roberts. I was going to say, I wasn't sure which ring announcer this was. Currently, the rest of the ring announcer for AEW has a book out, too, I've always wanted to read.
Nice.
I believe he just announced that we're doing 90 seconds between participants this year. It's vacillated different years. Some years has been officially 2 minutes. Some years has been 1 minute. Some years has been 90 seconds. And, of course, it's not the same anytime. They come out when they're ready for them to come out.
Yeah. Now, who in the closed captioning says WWE? That's actually what they're saying.
True, because this is 2014, many years after the switchover. I thought this Rumble would be a good one to watch for a number of reasons. Of course, it's the 10th anniversary edition of the Royal Rumble. And another one of them is this man right here coming out number 1, CM Punk. This was Punk's last Royal Rumble with the WWE until 2024. So he would walk out on the company just a matter of weeks, if not days, after this show. This match is also going to feature Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns is in it, Seth Rollins is in it, both Usos are in it. So a lot of the big players in the storylines in the WWE currently are going to be featured in this match. And also, as we said before, spoilers, it was won by one Dave Batista, who is Lexi's favorite wrestler of all time. This is the year that the fans just shit all over Batista winning the match. Not because they really had anything out for Batista, but because they really wanted Daniel Bryan to win. And of course, WWE would rectify the situation and wind up putting Daniel Bryan into the main event at WrestleMania, in which he would win the Unified World Championship, which he would go on to hold until injuries forced him to retire for a number of years before finally coming back for a brief run with WWE before heading to AEW, which is where he still currently wrestles. And apparently he's going to be retiring sometime this year.
Interesting.
And of course, CM Punk would stay out of wrestling for, 9 years before he came back to AEW?
Yes.
And of course, multiple issues in AEW. The infamous brawl out where he got into the fight with the Young Bucks backstage after the pay-per-view. And then the incident with Jack Perry after the All-In pay-per-view in 2023 would lead to him leaving the company and returning to WWE at Survivor Series last year in one hell of a moment. Of course, if you're listening to this is after the current iteration of the Royal Rumble. Very curious to see who's going to win it this year. I mean, I think Punk could legitimately win it. I think Cody could legitimately win it. If the Sports Illustrated report is to believe, Gunther's going to win it. For all I know, The Rock's going to show up and win it, because I think it's a very real possibility.
I think I'm going to win it.
I think it's a very real possibility that Rock and Roman Reigns are going to have a WrestleMania. That is Seth Rollins back when he was a member of The Shield, and they would enter through the crowd. It was Seth Rollins.
Interesting gimmick.
Seth Rollins. He's not the first or the last one to use it.
Yeah.
It was Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, who now wrestles as John Moxley in AEW, and Roman Reigns. They were The Shield.
Nice.
And yeah, they would wear the sort of tactical gear there, and they'd come in through the crowd. They were the Dogs of Justice, I think they called themselves. Let's see. I think Seth Rollins is going to turn heel before this year is over and turn on the Shield and end up winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and famously cash it in at WrestleMania the following year and have a really good run as world champion. I think Seth was doing some really good work back then. I mean, I still appreciate Seth's in-ring work, but I think it's tamped down a bit, both probably because of injuries and because of just the WWE style.
Mm-hmm.
But these two guys can put on a really good performance, and it'd be good to see them wrestle each other at WrestleMania. Current day, of course, Seth Rollins apparently has a knee injury that's going to keep him out of action until WrestleMania, if not longer. So we don't even know if he's going to be able to defend his World Championship at WrestleMania.
Interesting.
Which is, potentially going to throw a monkey wrench in the whole situation.
So off the top of your head, how many times can you think that number one has won the Royal Rumble?
Shawn won it from number 1 in 95. Ray won it from number 1 in 2008, 7.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to remember what year Eddie died. It was the year after Eddie died, so probably 2007. Benoit, the year he won it, 2004, he might have been number 1. He was one of the first couple of wrestlers out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely happened a number of times.
But how many times has number 2 won?
That I don't know. I know Flair won it from number 3 in 92, and that was the earliest person to ever win it at the time. But again, the Rumble was only a few years old at that point.
Yeah.
All right, we're fixing to get our third competitor into the match. And who's it going to be?
Me.
Damien Sandow.
Okay.
Damien Sandow had a really fun gimmick for a while where he was like Miz's second, and he was calling himself Mizdow, and he was like imitating Miz. So Miz was in the match doing a move, and he was doing similar actions on the outside of the ring.
Interesting.
Damien seems like a pretty talented dude. Like I said, I didn't watch wrestling day in and day out during this period, so I didn't see a lot of him, but I always heard good things about him. I don't think he ever really got a main event push,
Mm-hmm.
but he seemed like a capable performer at least. First 3 wrestlers in, all still in the ring so far, no eliminations yet. Sometimes it's fun when the first 2 go in and one of them gets the other one out right away and then they get to wait for a minute, but sometimes it's fun to build up early on. That's what I say. Every Rumble is its own story,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of stories, I forgot to mention during the last Rumble, what's Punk going to do here? Combination DDT and neckbreaker. Nice move. At the 94 Royal Rumble, just before the actual Royal Rumble match, the fans had seen The Undertaker lose a casket match to world champion Yokozuna. And y'all know what a casket match is. You have to put your opponent in the casket and close the lid. Like, all the heels came out to help Yokozuna close the lid on Undertaker. And as he was being wheeled out, they did this video thing that showed The Undertaker ascending to heaven.
Yeah.
It was just an excuse to give Undertaker some time off. Because I think his wife was pregnant at the time, or maybe she was having some medical issues, or maybe Undertaker just was healing up some nagging injuries or something. But he would be off until SummerSlam when he'd come back to wrestle the fake Undertaker. But yeah, that's a pretty infamously bad moment.
I'm not saying Christianity is canon in WWE.
Well,
we have Undertaker ascending to heaven. We have Vince McMahon fighting God.
No. They didn't say he just ascended. We just added on.
Okay.
You just saw him rise up.
But Vince McMahon did fight God.
And speaking of rising up, here's a young man who's risen up in the last few years. Cody Rhodes has entered the Rumble. Black-haired Cody Rhodes.
Looks a lot different.
Using the Cody Cutter still, though. No, that might not be the Cody Cutter. I think that was the Crossroads. I'm sorry, I'm not up on all of Cody's moves. Cody, my pick for most popular wrestler of the year in 2023. Probably the top babyface, at least in North America. Definitely one of the odds-on favorites to have won the Rumble. Of course, if you're listening to this, you'll know who won the 2024 Royal Rumble. We don't. As we're recording this on January 26, 2004, which is the exact 10-year anniversary of this match, as it took place on January 26, 2014. This is another match that I've never seen either, unless I happen to go back and watch on the network, and I'm almost positive I haven't. 2014 was the nascent days of the WWE Network. We didn't actually have a subscription because we didn't have a smart TV back then. And all these shows were still available on pay-per-view, but, it had to be something special for me to pop $40 or $50 to watch the show, and this was not one we paid for.
Man, $40 or $50, that's a lot.
Yeah. I think WrestleMania before...
Cheaper to go to a movie.
I think WrestleMania before it was completely off pay-per-view was probably $60.
Damn.
But to be fair, you pay $60, you can have 12 people watch it. You can't take 12 people to a movie for $60.
That's fact.
True. And let's just think of the
especially when you include in gas and snacks. And look, it's Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County, the opportunistic Trump supporter who thinks that school children's lives are less important than his constituents' guns. So, if you don't understand what I'm saying, fuck Glenn Jacobs. I was a fan of his as a wrestler. I thought Kane was a hell of a performer, but I think he's a piece of shit in real life, so it's hard for me to go back and watch anything that he does. I guess this was during the corporate Kane days because he doesn't have the red suit, and he's definitely a shoot with the mask, and he's out there wrestling in dress pants and dress shoes, so pounding on Mr. Punk. I would imagine in real life these two's politics would not rub along comfortably.
Yeah.
I don't know how socially liberal Glenn Jacobs is or not.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, and I don't even know if he really would support Trump in a lot of his actions, but I think he's opportunistic about it because he knows a lot of the people in his district would support him, so he's going to support him. And he's definitely... good job, Punk. Way to dump him out. He's definitely taken the side of the gun lovers when school shootings have come up and sort of downplayed the loss of lives.
I feel like it makes sense for Punk to take him out. Literally has Punk as his name.
I'm for it. And we get another competitor in the ring. Oh, Rusev.
I don't know who that is.
Another wrestler who's in AEW nowadays. The Bulgarian Brute.
He's not wearing trunks, he's wearing very short shorts.
Yeah.
Kinda.
High-waisted shorts at that.
Yeah.
This would be early on in his WWF run. And yes, I know it was WWE at the time, but we've covered this already. It's always WWF to me. I believe that Royal Rumble we just saw up above was augmented reality. I don't believe that was actually hanging in the arena. I think this was the early days of them using that. I can't stand when they do it now, where they have like the big statues of Roman when he comes in and stuff, but only if you're watching on TV. I don't know why, but that just bugs me.
I'm sorry.
I like the old pay-per-view sets where you had these big sets. You had the ladders or the cars or whatever that would fit the theme of the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I miss that stuff. As Cody almost gets eliminated by Rusev. 3 of the 4 wrestlers in the ring have wrestled for AEW.
Interesting.
One of them was an executive vice president of AEW. One of them still wrestles for AEW. And the other 2 may be fixing to have AEW's biggest match of all time at WrestleMania. What do you think? What do you think about the black-haired Cody Rhodes versus the blonde-haired Cody Rhodes? I mean, the blonde is obviously a tribute to his dad, the
Looks
American
better with
Dream,
blonde.
Dr. Rhodes.
Looks too generic with the black hair.
In case you don't know, his actual name is Cody Runnels. Rhodes was just a stage name.
Interesting.
But yeah, blonde looks way better.
His dad was...
Gives him a bit more flair.
His dad's real name was Virgil Runnels, and if I didn't mention it, the character Virgil, who was the $1 Million Man's manservant, was named after Dusty Rhodes. It was kind of a little rib on Dusty.
Interesting.
And here's Jack Swagger, accompanied by his manager Dutch Mantell, doing sort of a proto-white supremacist gimmick.
Choices
They make
have been
interesting
made.
choices.
I mean, it's not overt. It's sort of couched in, oh, I'm a real American, you know, but it's sort of MAGA before MAGA.
Interesting choices in wrestling.
Uh-huh.
Look, I'm not going to defend it, but it's not uncommon for wrestling to play on our basest instincts. You know, they're going to play up sexism and racism and anything else people are thinking if it stirs emotions.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's not uncommon. It's been doing it for 50 years at least.
Probably longer.
Probably. I'm not an expert on wrestling, you know, too far back, but certainly during my time and probably before.
When did wrestling in this sort of format really become a thing?
What do you mean? I mean, obviously, televised wrestling came around with the advent of television in the 40s. And as far as it being staged, that goes back to the 20s probably.
Nice.
And I mean, you know, you can say when WWF went national in like 84, it really brought the theatricality of it and the characterization up to another level. But it was all there. Oh, Kofi Kingston. Another current wrestler. Kofi was famous for interesting ways to stay in the Rumble, where he'd get knocked out but hanging. I don't know if he's going to have one of those.
Oh my god.
I don't know if he's going to have one of those moves tonight or not. He's going right after Punk. I think
That was an entrance.
I think he and Punk were a tag team at one point early on in their WWF runs. I'm not sure because, like I say,
Skills.
didn't watch it every week back then. So, like I say, my big heyday for watching wrestling was 1990 through about 2001, and after that, my viewing became more and more sporadic. But I've always kept up with the business, and even the wrestling that came before that, I would go back and learn about.
I always find it so interesting how they keep on having wrestlers save other wrestlers for pretty much no reason.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense unless you're partners or friends and you have like an alliance for the match, it's like, get them out.
And it's like half the time, it's like they attack the wrestler, try and throw him out, and then start trying to throw out the wrestler.
The only real argument is, well, if there's more people in here, there's less chance that they're going to try to throw me out.
It's like, why would you stop them from throwing him out, then try and throw him out yourself? Throw them out together.
I could understand it if those people have some sort of feud. It's like, no, you can't be the one to throw them out. I'm throwing.
But even then, it's like,
It doesn't.
everybody else has got to go out but me.
Sense.
He's right. You might as well let him get somebody else out. Thin out the herd.
It is quite dumb. And it happens a lot.
Somebody else coming out.
Yes.
Oh, yep. Jimmy Uso.
There's a lot of people in the ring. When's the big guy coming out?
The SmackDown Uso. This year, that would be Roman. Well, I mean, Rusev's a pretty big dude, especially for the time.
Roman has the big dude.
This is the year that Roman sets the record for most eliminations in the Rumble with 12. I'm not sure if that record's been broken since. And of course, I told you this year the fans were really upset because Daniel Bryan didn't win and Batista did, but Roman had that big moment during the match. In 2015, it would be Roman who won, and the fans would be upset that Roman won instead of Daniel.
They love Roman.
And of course, Bryan Danielson is his real name and what he wrestles under now, but he was Daniel Bryan in WWF.
Yeah.
Again, WWE. I don't know why I have to keep, Look, I'm clarifying for the people who aren't wrestling fans listening to this. Those who are wrestling fans know what I'm talking about. So we got Jimmy trying to eliminate Cody. Oh, hey.
Yeah, Cody doesn't have that much style to him.
It's 2023.
Cody is very plain at this moment.
Yeah. This would be probably after he was part of Randy Orton's group Legacy, all the second and third generation wrestlers who were teaming up to eliminate the legends.
Once again, stopping someone from throwing someone out.
3, 2, 1.
And then attacking the person that was about to be thrown out. Why?
Oh, speaking of Rhodes, here's Cody's half-brother Dustin Rhodes in the guise of Goldust. We've talked a lot about Goldust in some of the shows we've watched.
Yeah.
This is obviously much later era Goldust. At one point, Cody would dress up very similar to that as Stardust.
Yeah.
I think instead of being gold and black, he'd be red and black, but he'd have the full body suit and the face paint. That was right before he left the company. Draw from that what you will. Dustin, of course, a big part of AEW still, even after his brother left. Again,
oh my god, they are all beating up on him.
Both sons of the legendary American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Technically half-brothers, though. Different mothers. For whatever that's worth.
Everyone's on one side of the ring.
Kofi, you gotta come help! Get over here! And that's what it is now. They're all working to get Rusev out. And there he goes. The Bulgarian Brute has been eliminated.
Oh, dang it, I got thrown out! Oh.
And, no, Kofi hanging on. Nothing too spectacular. Oh, wait.
Hold me! Oh, okay, here you go.
And Rusev working him over, but he's working him over on the barricade. Kofi's feet have still not touched the floor. This may have been the beginning of the Kofi spectacular returns.
It's a being a bro.
I remember one year he tried to use a chair, but I think he messed. I think that might have been an instance of a spot not going right, because he tried to use a chair, but he didn't quite make it back in. But maybe that was intentional, too. They were playing off, he's going to do it, and then he didn't.
I mean, it must be hard to do this every time.
There's no way he's jumping to the ring from here. Where is he going?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, imagine if someone's pushed him here.
Oh my gosh, is he going to make the run all the way from the barricade to the ring?
How much do you think he practiced this?
I don't know. Here we go.
Oh,
he made it!
Oh, nice.
Hell of a jump.
He's good at jumping.
That was a relatively simple one.
Still
It's not
spectacular,
like
though.
pancakes on the floor or anything.
That's a hell of a jump. And especially with that thin of a runway to come off of.
But yeah,
pretty spectacular still.
Yeah, these can easily go wrong. I'm surprised that hasn't gone wrong more.
Like I say, and I'm sure it's tough when somebody gets eliminated when they're not supposed to. But I mean, unless they're the winner, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Or the supposed winner. There's Dean Ambrose, real name John Good, I believe, wrestles as John Moxley in AEW. The second third of the Shield, along with Seth Rollins and Roman, who hasn't come out yet.
Interesting.
Honestly, that guy came in. I just like completely missed that dude coming in.
What guy?
He literally just ran in now.
No, the dude that trying to get out.
Swagger?
Yeah.
That's the one doing the proto-white supremacist gimmick.
Oh, that was him?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I wasted from my memory.
Reasonable.
I was like, when did that guy come in?
There's a replay of Kofi's jump, which that really is a hell of a jump, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did not have a wide runway to come off of, and that's impressive. Seth trying to get one of the Usos out. I think Jimmy is who he said. Technically, I don't even think Jimmy's his real name. I think their real names are John and Josh, maybe? I may be wrong about that. Their real names ain't Jimmy and Jay, though. And Uso ain't their Uso is a Samoan word for brother, or at least a version of the Samoan word for brother.
Interesting.
Their last name is Fatu.
Yeah.
Why does he have the Joker on his butt?
Who?
Kofi.
I don't know. I guess he likes the Joker.
I'm not sure if it's supposed to be the Joker. It looks like the Joker.
It definitely is Joker colors.
Definitely.
Dolph Ziggler, who has recently serviced in TNA after being let go by WWE. Real name Nick Nemeth. His younger brother Ryan Nemeth wrestles for AEW.
The best part about more modern wrestling stuff is they actually show the names and numbers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Back in older wrestling, it'd be like, oh, this is a person.
Oh, they didn't have the graphics for him in '94?
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know when they... I mean, they definitely had the Chiron and the lower third graphics in wrestling back then. I don't know why they didn't use it for the Rumble. Not sure what years they did and didn't do it, but...
Yes, they expected people to listen mind.
I mean, they had those kind of graphics on the shows when people would come out, so I'm not sure why they weren't using it for the Rumble. I didn't even notice that.
But I feel like they only had it like half the times on the shows.
We've definitely seen some older shows when they'll have it at one point, but not another.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they had that back in the 80s even, so...
Someone just forgot to press the button.
Or they just didn't want to clutter up the screen because people were coming in. It's Josh and John Fatu. And for the record, Rikichi's real name is Solofa, or Solofa.
Interesting.
It's like Solo F.A. So... I don't think Solo Sokola's real name is Solo either.
I saw someone like a glow stick in the audience.
In fact, I think his middle name is Yokozuna after their cousin, Rodney Anawai, who was the world champion back in '94.
Here comes another.
Oh, R-Truth. Another wrestler who's been featured on WWE programming lately. As he sort of... You remember a couple years ago when Sami Zayn was like, he wanted to be part of the... I don't know, what do they even call themselves? The Bloodline. And now R-Truth is... He's like, I want to be part of the Judgment Day, doing funny things with them. We don't really watch Raw every week, so I've only read about it. But R-Truth, Ron Killings, was the first ever black NWA world champion.
Nice.
Ron Simmons had held the WCW World Championship, which grew out of the NWA Championship, was technically a separate championship at the time. So Ron Simmons would be the first major recognized black world champion. Of course, other wrestlers had held world championships of some designation throughout the years. But Ron was the first world champion of a nationally recognized world championship. But by then it was separate from the NWA Championship, which Ron Killings was the first black man to ever hold.
Mm-hmm.
Kofi catches the kick from Swagger. Swagger wrestles in AEW now as Jake Hager.
Taking off his shoe?
He is taking off his shoe.
Okay.
Interesting choice.
And now he's got himself hooked by his feet on the bottom rope.
One kick and that could easily fall.
Yeah, no,
and fall long.
I feel like he has hit Swagger with his own shoe. So Kofi had 2 interesting saves this year. I think that might be the joke. It might actually be Doink.
Oh, God damn it.
The clown on his butt, to be honest with you.
Legally distinct Joker.
I'm not sure. I think that might actually be Doink.
Why?
Which is a real nice tie-in to and another tie-in to the 1994 Royal Rumble. Kevin Nash back in the Royal Rumble 20 years later. This time under his real name, Kevin Nash.
Kofi is like one of the best parts of the Rumble.
I think he looked better 20 years old.
You reckon Kofi had a save in the Royal Rumble that aired last night as the day this podcast goes up, but airs tomorrow as the time we're recording it?
I hope so.
I don't even know if he's in the Rumble.
That's what I look forward to every time. Like, what's gonna happen this time?
You said you thought Nash looked better with the long hair?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're gonna be an
I think your mother would agree with
inflatable
that.
balloon that he bounces off or something.
He also doesn't have the tassels on his pants this year.
That's fact.
Nash going after the two members of the Shield in the ring.
He does still have interesting looking pants.
That's always one of the fun things about the Rumble, seeing what wrestlers might come back from past years. I mean, the roster's big enough now they don't need wrestlers to come back, but it's always fun to have one or two, older names come back for the match. Like, they're not going to win, but it's fun to see them come in. And at least now you have two Rumbles, so you have the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble, so you have two opportunities for people to come back. That's also a bit of a detriment, too, though, because it's two Rumbles in one show is a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, whichever Rumble goes first between the two, it feels like that should be the end of the show. They really should split the Royal Rumble up into two nights like they do WrestleMania now. And have the Men's Rumble main event one night and the Women's main event the other night,
Yeah.
You could split up the other matches any way you want to. It doesn't have to be all women one night and all men one night. But it just... One Rumble match takes a lot out of you. It's
Men's Rumble. Women's matches.
It's fun
Women's Rumble.
as a
Men's
fan, but it
matches.
also feels like it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they will go to that before too long. And here comes the final third of the Shield, the big dog, one of the longest reigning world champions ever in the World Wrestling Federation, the head of the bloodline, the head of the table, Mr. Roman Reigns.
WWE's favorite wrestler.
Joe Anawai. A former football player for Georgia Tech, I believe. It's Cody and Roman. Oh my God. 10 years ago, Cody and Roman. Yeah, like I said, Roman. It's interesting that Roman is taking on Kevin Nash, who portrayed Diesel, because Roman gets the Diesel treatment this year, eliminating, like I said, a record 12 wrestlers at the time, including Kofi.
Aww.
Well, he didn't win. I already told you who won.
I know.
Big
Kofi never
DDT.
wins. He's there to make cool saves. Kofi's the stunt man.
Big spear from Roman. Yeah, like I said, this is his big star moment where they started to see, okay, Roman, he might be the guy, but then the next year he actually won the Rumble, and fans were like, no, we wanted Bryan! Or Daniel at the time. Daniel Bryan at the time. But Bryan Danielson in real life. Bye-bye, Kevin. Nope. Oh, he tried to hold on. He's like, no, I ain't Shawn.
He's like, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, that's probably. Sounds like Kevin. Look, Cody's trying to eliminate Roman. Oh, man. Who knew at this time what would be going on 9 to 10 years later between those two?
Yeah.
That's really fun to watch that moment.
They've been planning it ever since here.
They're playing the long game. All right, Punk, you're going to leave and come back 10 years later. Meanwhile, I'm going to leave for a little while, but come back a little earlier so me and Roman can start setting stuff up. John, you're just going to leave, sorry.
Slow bone wrestling.
The Great Khali, legitimately one of the tallest wrestlers ever in the history of the World Wrestling
How to win the
Federation.
Royal Rumble. Literally just don't enter the ring.
Not as tall as Jorge Gonzalez, who was legitimately 7'7", but taller than Andre, because Andre was, I think, legitimately only like 6'10". I think Khali's a legitimate 7 feet
That's
plus.
what Kevin Nash was?
Yeah, about that.
You can never lose if you don't enter the ring.
I mean, I never met Andre. I never stood near him. I've heard differing reports. I've heard some people say that, at his height, before age started weighing him down, that he legitimately did reach 7 feet, but he never reached the 7 feet 5 inches that he was billed as. And there goes Khali. It only took a couple people to get him out. I think it was just Dean and Roman, or was it all three members of the Shield? Look, this is a very interesting group. We have the 3 of the top wrestlers in the WWE, or 4 of the top wrestlers. What do we got in there? Oh, is Cody about to go out? Not yet. We got Roman, Cody, and Punk, and
Cody's
Seth. Yep, there goes Cody. Was he eliminated by his brother? He was, and then Roman took his brother out. But other than Dustin, who's still important behind the scenes in AEW, and even on camera sometimes, we have, legitimately one of the top wrestlers in AEW, 4 of the top wrestlers in WWE, now, but in the ring back then 10 years ago.
Man, Punk has lasted a while.
Yeah, that's a very common thread in the Rumble too, to have somebody who comes in early and lasts a long time. They're not necessarily going to win it, but they're going to have a good 40-50 minute run in the Rumble, like Gunther going all the way to the end but being eliminated last year, or even Rhea coming in first and winning last year in the Women's Rumble.
Apparently they picked Punk up and then just sat him back down on the mat. Didn't find the more, sat him down. I don't know, I didn't see it.
Okay, Dylan, you can confirm this. It's Soda Popinski, right? I mean, Sheamus looks like Soto Popinski from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, but with hair. I don't think Sheamus is with WWE anymore. I think he's left now. I'm not sure about that, but... And there we go, the bells of the Bowery, or whatever he calls the forearms. I mean, Sheamus was still doing work even last year. Oh,
Look at his chest.
Alright, look at those titties. Oh, big backbreaker on Seth.
It's been a while since we've had a Punch-Out game. Punch-Out games are very rare.
Okay, well, if we get another one, I want Sheamus to replace Soto Popinski.
Okay.
Sheamus needs to be in there in place of him.
It's like there have been 3 across, what, like 30 years? It's like one every 10 years.
Let's say he's
One every
Scottish.
decade.
He's Scottish, so he could be like Harry Haggis or something. But it's still Sheamus.
When did each Punch-Out game come out?
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, well, it was an arcade game in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's The Miz, Mike Mizinen. Tough Enough and Real World alumnus.
How long's The Miz been in wrestling?
Early 2000s. I couldn't tell you because, again, I wasn't watching every week. Like I said, he was on a season of MTV's The Real World, and he was on a season of Tough Enough, which was WWE's reality show where you could win a contract. He didn't win. I'd say maybe late 2000s.
Nice.
Punch-Out came out in 87.
I mean, he main evented WrestleMania in 2010, so...
Super Punch-Out was 94.
Actually beat John Cena thanks to the interference of The Rock. To set up their back-to-back WrestleMania main events.
And then Punch-Out for the Wii was 2009. So we haven't had one since 2009.
Yeah.
Is that 15 years ago?
We haven't had a Rock main event at WrestleMania since 2013. I think we might be getting one this year.
You imagine The Rock's Punch-Out.
It would be... I mean, look. If they can get The Rock back for the match with Roman and get him back early enough that they can promote it properly, obviously they've got to do that match. It's the biggest match they could do right now. Mm-hmm. And it would be appropriate because WrestleMania... This is the 40th WrestleMania. It's going to be in Philadelphia. And The Rock's first main event at WrestleMania was at WrestleMania 15 in Philadelphia.
Nice.
So it's 25 years later. Yeah, this is Fandango. He was doing like a dancing gimmick. The only thing is, if Rock's going to wrestle Roman this year, and like I say, by the time this podcast actually comes out, the picture may be a lot clearer after what happens at the Rumble. You know, what else? Because, I mean, you got Cody there, you got CM Punk there. I don't even think that Roman and The Rock need the championship for their match to matter, but I don't know they want to take the title off Roman yet. And, like, Cody needs to win the title that Roman has. He doesn't need to win Seth's championship to finish his story. But he doesn't necessarily need to beat Roman to win that title either. But you want him to beat somebody who has some pedigree with the title, too. So, unless... And Roman's wrestling, I think, 3 baby faces at the Rumble, so it's probably not going to be one of them that he loses it to, and then they drop it to Cody at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Because, I mean, you got 2 potential main events at WrestleMania. You got Night 1 and Night 2. But do Cody and Punk against each other mean that much without a title? You know, who's going to challenge Rollins for his title? Is Rollins even going to be able to defend his title? Like I said, you can't have Cody wrestle Rollins for the title. That's not the title he needs to win. And he doesn't need to lose that title en route to winning Roman's title. So it's going to be really interesting. And like I say, I think the picture may be a lot clearer by the time people are hearing this. But, you know, right now, the day before the Rumble, we have no idea what's going on. Ole! Oh, Los Matadores. I have no idea who these fellas are. I apologize. I remember Tito Santana was El Matador back in like 91.
Those pink or the red, but the lighting is red. Oh. That's the guy coming out.
Is he? Oh my god, so they have a... Look, I don't want to be offensive. They used to be called midget wrestlers. For all I know, they still are, whenever you see them, but... A very, vertically challenged wrestler.
Little dude.
And of course, the minis, as they're known in Mexico, are very popular. There's a lot of, they're all takeoffs on, or not all of them, but a lot of them are takeoffs on other wrestlers who have like Mini Masquerita and Mini Connect or whoever the big Mexican wrestlers are at the time. And there's even versions of minis of American wrestlers on WWF television. They had a mini Mankind and a mini Vader.
Oh, man. Just thrown into the rope there.
They may, in fact, be the only little... Well, I would say they're the only little person interested in the Rumble, but I bet Hornswoggle was in the Rumble one year. And I think he's fixing to go out. Nope. Hurricane Ron.
I don't know who this dude is, but I like him.
I think they said his name was El Torito or El Torino.
Something like that.
He got an
Look at him
elimination.
go.
Fandango's out. You gotta feel bad being the wrestler who went out to the little guy in the bull costume.
Don't mess with the little guy in the bull costume.
Roman's messing with him.
Oh, a woman is the favorite child, so he can mess with him.
Technically, he wasn't out until he came off of him. He was sitting
Yeah.
on top of Fandango. He could have come back in. And now CM Punk against Roman. There's another potential matchup we got coming up. So lots of intrigue in this matchup. It's fun to go back and watch this. This was a good choice. And who's coming out to join the fray now? As the buzzer sounds, we get music. That's what the closed captioning says. Oh, I didn't know Cesaro was a Dutchman until. I didn't know he was part of the MAGA Confederation in WWE. I like the scarf. Cesaro
Once again,
wrestles for
interesting
TNA
choices.
now. Cesaro, the Swiss strongman. Here we go. Big spin coming up.
Yay, spin! To hit a bunch of other wrestlers with them.
Right. That might be dangerous.
The way he picked up his arms.
Oh, drop kick from CM Punk. Misses the kick. Cesaro up. He's going to swing Punk.
Man, we like swinging people.
Nope. And now the Shield interrupts the fun.
No more swinging.
Oh, Cesaro and Dean Ambrose now are part of the same faction in AEW. Yeah, Blackpool Combat.
Yay, more swinging! I wonder if everyone gets dizzy in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Pretty interesting that they all tuck their arms in that way.
And it's probably for some reason.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a reason
Safety.
behind it, but it's just interesting.
To not flail your arms around.
And holding your head so you don't get a neck injury. Having your head swung around like that.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot of rotation.
He has to be dizzy after that.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Still going. I wish we could
How?
count them.
Oh my god!
That's one of the longest big spins I've
That
seen.
is some strength. Some endurance.
If I would just sit down after that. Oh my god, don't do it again.
I think he's gonna...
Okay.
Yeah. Catapult him over. The late Luke Harper passed away in 2020. Right after coming to AEW. At this point, he was part of the Wyatt family, along with Eric Rowan and the late Bray Wyatt.
This deck looks like he just walked into the building.
But yeah, they had sort of a country bumpkin, swamp people cult sort of gimmick going on.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting gimmicks.
The Wyatt family was a pretty good gimmick.
Yeah.
I actually thought he and Eric Rowan were cool when they were the Bludgeon Brothers tag team after this. So how many people we got in the ring? About 8 right now?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
8.
Yeah, 8.
So got all 3 members of the Shield. Punk's still in there. Cody's long gone. Got Cesaro, Miz, Luke Harper, and Sheamus.
Yeah. We've got 8 more people to come out.
Alright, who's going out next?
1 wrestler dead, 2 wrestlers in AEW, and the rest prominent members of the WWE roster even today.
I was going to say, I would hope far less of the wrestlers on this one are dead.
Well, so far I've counted 1. So, even so, I still say, even from 30 years ago, we shouldn't have that many deceased
No,
wrestlers.
definitely not. But this one's only 10 years ago.
And there's
It's the
main
other
event
one.
Jey Uso. I mean, he's in the mix too. I seriously doubt he's going to win the Rumble, but you never know. There's enough intrigue this year. Like last year, I was sure Cody Rhodes was going to win the Rumble. This year, I really don't know. There's a lot of guys who could win. There's a lot of storylines going into it. And that's always the best year, when you have a lot of storylines coming to a head in the Rumble, and a lot of people who could win, and not because it's like, well, there's no real obvious choice, there's no real main. This year we've got a ton of main event players and people who could win it. So I'm really looking forward to the match tomorrow. Again, yesterday as of the time you're here, at least yesterday as of the time you're hearing this. That's some loud.
I'm sorry.
You getting ready for the Rumble? Are we have the LexiCon Rumble? European uppercut from Cesaro to Harper.
Gosh, that's loud. Have we not popped him like 20 years?
Pretty sure I was popping my knuckles just earlier this episode.
Like, gosh.
Harper trying to take Cesaro out.
Oh, I had another person coming in. And like, no one has been eliminated.
Well, we're up to entry number 24, so plenty of people have been eliminated.
Well, yeah, I mean, no one since we last counted them.
JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield. Coming from the announce table. He was doing color commentary. Not the first person. I think Jerry Lawler did that as well one time when he was doing commentary. Came from the desk and came right in.
Interesting.
These are always fun. Like I said, there's certainly a big enough roster now that you don't need things like this, but it's always fun to have a couple like this.
Yeah.
Unexpected entries. People are not going to win, but it's just a fun moment.
Gotta have the unexpected entry.
I mean, you want that roller coaster ride of a Rumble. That's, again, what makes the match so great when it works. Is you have all those different moments. You have the serious moments. You have the funny moments. You have the time where there's a lot of people in the ring. You have the time where there's almost nobody in the ring.
There's something there's a need for Rumble. You need the big guy to come in and eliminate a bunch. Jacket. You need the silly one to come in. You need...
And then he's gone.
You need someone making a...
Michael should have stayed there with his jacket and just put it right back on him.
Those are 3 things you need for a Rumble. I guess the Great Recovery isn't needed. That's more of a recent thing. Recent-ish.
Do you like the face paint on the Usos? It's pink.
Yeah. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to it, honestly.
I'm not sure if JBL just set the record for quickest elimination. I know one of the Bushwhackers one year, he came right in and was dumped right back out. And I know Jerry Lawler came in and was dumped right back out. So I'm not sure what the official record for shortest time in was, but that was definitely close.
I want to see somebody just like slide in real smoothly under the ropes, but like as
the slide and jump out.
No, as they're sliding, somebody manages to grab them and just tosses them out.
So here comes the sole remaining member of the Wyatt family, Eric Rowan.
Interesting.
Like I said, we lost Luke Harper in 2020, and we just lost Bray Wyatt last year. Miz not out yet. Nope, slides in. Oh no, but gets caught.
I miss the little ball guy.
Miz still not out.
He was very enjoyable.
Now out.
Okay, but he was never going to win it.
I mean, yeah.
You can only do so much with him before it strains.
Yo, what if he did win?
Again, you can only do so much with him before it strains credibility. There's no reason that some of these guys should be knocked out by him. It starts to get ridiculous at some point. I remember when the Usos made their debut in WWE, probably like 2010, 2011. I had a gay friend who thought they were both really hot.
Nice.
And now he's really out.
Who's coming next?
The Shield and the Wyatt family, I believe they had a feud going on, or they had one, or they were beginning one at the time. Like I say, I wasn't watching every week, but I know they definitely had a run together. This is Ryback.
He's tore his jacket off.
I think it was just a shirt, to be fair, and I think it was already cut.
Yeah, I presume so.
Ryback didn't stay around too long. I don't know a whole lot about him. I know he's made some outlandish claims on Twitter.
Punk's still in here.
That's about all I know about him.
Punk is still here.
Yeah, Punk's got sort of the Iron Man spot this year, I think.
It's a lane in the
Is
corner.
he still in there, though? Oh, yeah, he is. Okay, I see him. Like I said, that's not uncommon to have at least one guy go a really long time. Sometimes it'll be the winner. Sometimes it'll just be
another
a guy who hangs
Royal
in for
Rumble
a
trope.
while. Yeah.
The long-lasting guy.
I think that goes... I think even the first year when it was only 20 wrestlers and it was a TV special, I think Brett was in there for like 20 or 30 minutes. I think that goes back to the first one.
Damn.
That's always been a thread you'll have through the Rumble. Oh, Sheamus and Cesaro were a tag team called The Bar for several years in WWE. See them throwing European uppercuts to each other right now, which is appropriate since they're both European. Sheamus from Switzerland. Sheamus from Ireland. I said he was Scottish, didn't I? I'm pretty sure. Is he Scottish or Irish? Fuck, I don't know now.
I don't know. He seems Irish.
I think he's Irish, yeah. I think I said he was Scottish earlier. I apologize. And Sheamus from Switzerland. So, crap. Forget Harry Haggis. We need another name. Poppin' Potato. I don't know.
Potato.
I was trying to think of something silly like Vodka Drunkinski. Alberto Del Rio, another one, no longer with WWE. Hasn't been for a while.
Man, imagine if you...
I actually won the Rumble in 2011.
Imagine a bag of little potatoes that's always bite-sized. Bite-sized potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
They're already baked.
Okay.
We baked bite-sized potatoes.
There are these really tiny potatoes. You could bake them. I've deep fried them before. Just had little tiny potatoes.
That'd be awesome. Potatoes are good.
One, they are. Two, Maddie, we need tiny potatoes.
Does you want me to go grow them?
I know, you can just pick them up at the store next time you go.
I think Dean Ambrose just got it. Nope, he's still hanging in there. Nope, back in the ring, still not out.
Alright, when are all these people going out?
For like dinner or what?
Too many people in the ring. Get them all out.
You want to try to meet them and get their autograph? I need to know your schedule.
Someone's will come in with a comical large fan and go blow them all out of the ring.
Yeah, the fans are popping at every inch because they're like, okay, Daniel Bryan's coming out now, right? And here's Batista.
It's Batista.
Yeah, this is Batista's return match, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he'd been wrestling for a few years.
Alex, it's your dude. It's the bear.
And
Batista.
Then, like I say, we're not watching with the sound on, and I didn't watch it personally, but I'm pretty sure once Entrant 30 comes out and fans realize Daniel Bryan's not coming out, they start shitting on the match, and they were not happy. He had wrestled earlier in the show. I think he was doing an angle with the Wyatt family. But he was not to be in the Rumble. He would eventually make his way to the WrestleMania main event, at least. Two big bruisers there, Ryback and Batista.
Do they make many wrestling plushies nowadays?
I don't know. They used to have, WWE used to have like wrestling buddies.
Mm-hmm.
There were these, pillow-sized stuffed wrestlers that you could wrestle with.
Can I get a plushie of the little ball guy?
and I've seen some like modern variations on those, but I don't know how mass-produced they are. Ryback's out of there. Del Rio levels Batista with a kick. I have to struggle not to call him Beartista because you have a stuffed bear Batista.
Yeah.
Punk is still here.
Yeah, we have that.
You'll have Sting bears
I was going to say, we
from,
also have Sting, don't we?
from the TNA house show we went to.
Yeah.
And Del Rio's out. The
Two different
2011
styles, though.
winner is out.
I got
Sting Bear is much more like a teddy bear. Batista's a bit more of a humanoid teddy bear situation.
Two wrestlers left, and the fans are like, come on, where's Daniel Bryan? Where's Daniel Bryan? He's coming now, right? Big E's still out, I think, from a neck injury. I don't think he's come back yet. The third member of New Day, along with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, been out with a neck injury for a couple years now.
Interesting.
Big backbreakers from Big E to Sheamus.
3 of them.
He's going to dump the Irishman out. But Sheamus still hanging on.
Yeah, he's not going out. Whenever they're hanging on the bottom like that and they start kicking them, they're not going out.
I think Ray
I've never seen anyone go out like
Mysterio is the last wrestler in the Rumble.
Have you ever seen anyone go off out window at the bomb being kicked like that?
Yeah.
Oh, people do actually go out like that?
Yeah. Yeah, occasionally.
I've confirmed that they do still make those of wrestlers.
I
Not quite Batista.
I thought she wanted like a wrestling buddy, though.
They do have those as well. What is that an Undertaker pair? I love
Let me see. That's beautiful. And also the thing above it's cussed.
the Bleacher Buddy plush.
And like I said, if I'm not mistaken, Rey Mysterio is going to be number 30.
I like Rey Mysterio.
Rey won the Royal Rumble in, I believe, 2007.
Nice.
Randy Orton.
Yeah, as I recall reading about it, the fans did not give him a good reaction because they're pissed because it ain't Daniel Bryan.
Not that they hate Rey. These are really like
and like I say, even when they booed Batista for winning, it wasn't really because they hated Batista, just because they wanted Daniel to win.
They really like Daniel.
Yeah, although his name's actually Bryan. His name's Bryan Danielson, but in WWE he was Daniel Bryan.
Look, Daniel's a better first name.
It's not that, just WWE wants something that they can trademark.
Mm-hmm.
Punk setting up to go to sleep on Rey. The movie stole from Kenta, but Rey says, no, no, no. Oh.
How's Punk going out finally?
Nope, yes, maybe, I don't know.
Are they hugging?
Oh, he's doing the Shawn Michaels. They're both doing it. Close.
They're just chilling together.
Nope, back in.
They formed a new friendship after that. They are closer than ever before.
The plushies, they don't have a lot. Those buddy bleacher ones, whatever, I'm not too fond of. The chibi ones are okay. The bears are freaking adorable. It's like all the same bear,
Nope,
just
Biggie
dressed
not
up
out yet.
differently.
Biggie out, yes.
Will Punk survive till the Final Four?
Yeah, I have no idea who the Final Four. I know Batista's part of the Final Four. I think Roman's the second to last wrestler out. Like I said, I didn't watch the show. Big kick from Sheamus. He got that leg up high. Because Luke Harper was a tall drink of water. Is Rollins fixing to go out? Oh, 619 coming up.
Don't mess with Rey by the ropes.
Do we even need to mention the ridiculous eye for an eye match that these
No.
two had a few years ago?
I don't remember it. So.
They had a match where to win you had to take your opponent's eye out.
Oh, that's super dumb.
Literally. And I mean, they didn't literally do it, but that was the gimmick.
That is super dumb.
Yeah.
But is it more dumb than fighting ninjas?
Yes. Because you're promising something you can't realistically deliver. I mean, seriously.
Wrestling has some dumb moments. It's always had dumb moments since the beginning
Some
of
dumber
time.
than others, though.
A clown, Vince fighting God, fighting ninjas. Not Vince fighting ninjas.
Oh, Luke Harper's out.
The way he said it sounded like he was fighting God while God was fighting the ninja.
Oh, look at Dean Ambrose trying to dump Roman out. So he's like, what the fuck, bro?
God was
I had a chance, man. What do you want? Oh.
Hug! Group hug! Oh, no hugs.
Cesaro tried to get them both out.
I swear, Punk has spent 70% of this match just laying on the floor.
Did 2/3 of the Shield and Cesaro go out together, courtesy of Roman. Roman's like, bro, you tried to do me first. What do you want?
We're down Final 4 now, aren't we?
Maybe even Final 3.
No, I think... Yeah.
Yeah, Sheamus is still in there. So there you go. Punk, Sheamus, Batista, and Roman Reigns for your Final 4 in 2014. There's the go to sleep from Punk. Spear from Roman, but Punk catching him with the kick. Going for the go to sleep. He hits it.
He's asleep. He's taking a nap.
Oh, wait. Kane came back and he's like, I don't like your politics. You're too liberal for me.
Bullshit.
School children getting blown away with guns is okay.
I always hate it when someone comes in outside the match.
But I mean, that's why they're like, oh, there's no rules. But yeah, I agree. Something like that, that even like a no DQ match, somebody else shouldn't be able to interfere. That should be grounds for throwing it out. It's like you can't personally get disqualified, but when other people get in, it should be thrown out. Yeah, something like this really does hurt the integrity of a match. I get there's, quote, no rules, and I get they're just furthering an angle, although I don't know what it was going to lead to. I think Punk was supposed to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania this year, and Kane and Triple H were part of the corporation together at this time. I don't think it was called the corporation, but the authority or whatever they called themselves. So I guess that's what it was.
Interference is like one of the worst things that happens in wrestling.
Yeah, and I mean, look, used sparingly, it's effective. Yeah. Behind the ref's back in some matches, but when it's...
It feels like it's used very often.
When it's super blatant or just overdone, yeah, it's silly. And like I say, in something like this, they stand behind, well, there's no rules in the Rumble, so he went over the top rope. Because, I mean, technically, if you personally jump over the top rope to the floor, you're eliminated. Yeah. Although, I swear some years we've seen that where you jump over the top rope, you're eliminated, but some years you do it, you're not. So I'm not even sure they're consistent with that.
But it feels like it's done like every show.
But yeah, that's my same issue with like Austin being eliminated but then coming back in because they didn't see him get eliminated. Like there needs to be some integrity. I get you want to build drama and I get it's all work and that's fine. I don't mind some of the stuff, but you can't abuse it. You take it too far, it does start to dampen my enthusiasm for the product. Now we're down to the final three: Roman Reigns, Batista, and Sheamus. I believe Sheamus is a former Royal Rumble winner at this point. Roman is a future Royal Rumble winner, and Batista was a former Royal Rumble winner at this point.
Nice.
Don't quote me on Sheamus winning the Rumble. I'm not positive. But I think he won it in 2012. Because he did face Daniel Bryan for the World Championship at WrestleMania that year. And of course, like I said, Batista won it the year that he and Cena went over the rope together, and then the match was restarted. Actually, I think Batista won it in 2000 and what was the first year that he and Cena won it? 2005, I think Batista had won it too. So this might actually be his third victory, unless 2005 was the year that he and Cena went over together. Because I didn't necessarily watch the Rumble. That would have been about the right time frame.
Yeah.
I know he and Cena wrestled for the World Championships at WrestleMania that year. Batista wrestled Triple H and John Cena wrestled JBL. And I'm pretty sure Batista won the Rumble that year, but I don't remember if I actually got that.
Look at that sign. People worked really hard on it.
But one way or another, Batista had already won one Rumble by this point, if not two. And so had Sheamus. Pretty sure on Sheamus anyway. And like I said, Roman would have gone to win it in 2015.
He's punching his chest a lot.
He missed the kick, but he's still standing.
I'm still standing.
Soda Popinski against Drax the Destroyer. Oh, Batista bomb. But you can't win it like that. You got, oh, there you go. Dump him out, baby. Nope. Feet didn't hit the floor. Sheamus, nope. But Roman makes sure he does. And now we're down to 2. Oh, didn't think it was going to last long, but Roman's back in.
Maybe loads of Roman's out there.
We've seen that. That's not uncommon. Like
That's
one guy eliminates and then bam, the other one's right out.
That'd be kind of anticlimactic.
I agree, but you don't have to have a long standoff between the final 2 every year. I think you need to mix it up. And it just depends on the competitors. It depends on the year. But I do like to have a bit of time between the last 2, in general. Roman with the soap opera star hair back then.
They're just
staring to each other.
Just staring each other down at the moment.
Fight already.
Batista hasn't wrestled in a while. He needs a break.
Punch.
Blow for blow. Batista with the knee to Roman Reigns. Irish whip into the corner. Roman out with a big clothesline. Takes him down. Will Roman win the Royal Rumble and go on to main event WrestleMania?
He punched the floor. What'd the floor ever do to him?
Roman setting up either the Superman punch or the spear. Waiting for Batista to get to his feet. The veteran dazed, looking confused. Roman setting up the Superman punch. Locked and loaded, ready to go.
His ultimate attack. A really big punch.
Brushes back the superstar locks.
Not allowed.
His ultimate attack. An illegal move.
Here we go, Superman. But Batista with this Kind of a crappy looking spear, honestly.
He just jumps and punches.
They just kind of twisted around together. That wasn't the best spear.
Interesting ultimate move.
Batista firing up. This could easily be a spot where Roman dumped him out, though, where he had his back to him. That's a good spear. That's a good spear. Much better spear. I don't even... Did Batista really use the spear that much? I don't remember that being one of his moves. I remember Rhino doing it, and Goldberg, and Edge, and Roman. I don't remember the spear being a big part of Batista's arsenal.
I do not know.
Nope. Reversal. Roman is... He's over. It's done. And Batista, much to the chagrin of the audience, has won the Royal Rumble.
Just what happened? I lost! Very sad woman.
The fans in attendance, by and large, did not echo your sentiment. They were not happy that Batista won. I mean, they were unhappy that Bryan wasn't even in the match to begin with, so they were never going to be satisfied.
Yeah.
And there we go, the Royal Rumble from 10 years ago. 10 years ago exactly to the day as we're recording this.
Yep.
10 years ago plus 2 days is the date this episode drops. Lots of big players from the 2024 Royal Rumble were featured in this match. I'm very interested to see what they do. Of course, by the time this episode drops, we'll all know.
Well, so they're going to do something wild. Like 3 people go out at the same time.
You know,
at the end.
Like I said, if the SI article is to be believed, Gunther's going to win. Obviously, Cody's one of the favorites.
Gunther is.
He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. The guy who Cody Rhodes threw out to win the Royal Rumble last year, who set the record for the longest time in the Royal Rumble. But yeah, like I said, that's what I've heard is that he, according to SI, he's supposed to win and challenge for Seth's title. Obviously, Cody and Punk are going to be amongst the favorites. And I think it's definitely going to be one of those 3 unless somehow The Rock ends up in the match.
I hope it's the Clown.
I don't think the Clown's even going to make an appearance. For one thing, the original Clown is dead. We have seen other people play that role.
The Clown
When was the last time?
That I know of was that, remember Money in the Bank in 2020 when they did it at the WWE headquarters? They had somebody dressed up as Doink during that match.
Doink is eternal. Doink eternal. Like Doom eternal.
God.
So anyway, thanks for hanging out and watching this pair of classic Rumbles with us here on LexiCon. Looking forward to see what happens in the Royal Rumble, and looking forward to see what we come up with for the next episode. So please join us then when the conversation will continue. And until then, I am going to continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon Concluded.
Bye.